mandate. My name is Bernard Abla. I'm here with Richard Sky. We're going to be crossing over shortly to Parliament to tell you what's going on. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here, Bernard.
So this is a constitutional requirement, and how critical is it for a president to do this? Just walk us through the legalities of this.
So quickly, if you go to Article 67 of the Constitution, it's actually a very brief provision that says the president shall, at the beginning of each session of Parliament and before a dissolution of Parliament, deliver to Parliament a message on the state of the nation.
Wonderful.
So two parts, at the beginning and then before the dissolution of Parliament. So that is what he's doing now. Parliament will dissolve in the
So we can see on the screen what is he doing now? What is this?
So the guard of honor inspected. Now he'll be moving into the chamber of Parliament. He'll be received by the speaker, accompanied by the majority leader, the deputy, the minority leader, the members of leadership. They will receive him into the chamber and then usher him properly to go and take.
So this looks like the old chamber refurbished.
Exactly.
So will this be the first, or was the budget the first activity they did there?
Yeah. So they did a number of activities much earlier. You know, they also passed the environmental protection legislation, and then also yesterday they passed the vote that eventually led to us having a budget to run
for the first quarter of the year.
For the first quarter of the year. So yes, and this will be the biggest thing happening.
All right.
In that
we can see His Excellency John Ajay sat next to Akufo-Addo Ajima Rawlings. We see MPs speaking to each other. In the shot, you see Samoku Jeto. In the middle ground, you see MP for Ablekuma South, Oko van der Poy. We're seeing the MP for Teshi Ayiku speaking to Adenta Ramadan and Ewutu Senya West as well, Giselle Agbotui Tete. This is the dignitaries gallery, right?
Yeah, that's right. So
these MPs have gone to the gallery to speak to incoming MPs, or because Kufo is not an MP, but I sat there. I also seen an Akufo-Addo Ajima Rawlings sat next to him. And then I see, of course, Giselle and Ramadan are already MPs. And then Ayiku is also an MP, but he's sat there as well.
Yeah.
This is the president's entourage with minority and majority leadership, flanked by the security chiefs. I see IGP Dampare. So where are they now and where are they going?
So they are in the lobby now, and the speaker is leading the leadership in Parliament to usher him into the chamber.
Okay.
Once he gets into the chamber, there will be the usual pleasantries. The speaker would call the House to order, and then the order of business will be to have the president deliver to the nation
a state of the nation.
On the state.
This will be quite emotional because a lot of MPs are not coming back. So, for example, I see Kwesi Kwabena Woyome, MP for Southton, is not going to return to Parliament. Adjoa Safo Sewa is not going to return to Parliament. I see Chief of Staff there as well. So this particular Parliament will has a lot of casualties. So covering this, how emotional will it be for them, particularly on the government side, where they know that they're no longer going to be in government, and also a lot of the MPs know they're going to return to the House. Quite emotive, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it replaced what happened in 2001.
Okay.
2001, when Rawlings was leaving office.
Yes.
Again, it replaced what happened when Kufo was leaving office.
2008-9.
Yeah, 2009. His party was not returning to power.
Yeah.
And then also John Mahama having to hand over to the NPP.
2017.
Exactly. So it is the same kind of feeling where you would have old hands leaving the chamber for good in some cases. Some will promise to come back later. And then you replay how it all started, why we got here, what mistakes did we make, what achievements did we record. All of that will be playing on their minds as they process.
Explain to viewers the happiness. You see Atachia sat by Napo, MP for South Dai, exchanging pleasantries with him. Yves Hansenote, Henry Korte, Clet Avoka, they are all happy.
Yeah.
Usually in the build-up to the campaign, it sounds very fractious, very rancorous, and you are wondering, I heard, for example, the Roxin Dafiamepo exchanging words quite bitter with MPP, but here he is with Napo, having a good time, Eric Opoku there, people holding hands. They seem very relaxed.
You know, majority of the times, these guys work together in terms of, behind the scenes, get things done, but once the cameras are on,
they play. So it's an act. They put up an act.
So, for instance, Cletus Avoka, one of the oldest members of parliament we have in this republic, he's going away. He lost an election, fought and came back. You understand? Talking to someone who has just lost an election. So maybe
it's advising him that it's not the end of the world. Just continue with your life.
Exactly. So You know, that's the spirit. You know, there's a lot of things that they get to say to each other behind the scenes. You see, Haruna is there.
But
is that
what is Haruna
with,
and Che? What are they doing together there?
Those are former leaders talking to
doing
them.
former leadership talk. It seems to me as though the two worked very well together.
Yeah.
And I remember interviewing both of them, I think around the maturity of the previous government. I think the 2021 season. They were talking about the need to preserve a certain legacy in parliament.
Exactly.
And it was quite extraordinary to have the majority and minority leader on the same show defending a similar position.
Yeah.
I thought that was unique. In my life, I hadn't seen that before.
You see, beyond the partisanship, we also have an institution to build as a people. And if you have a commonality of purpose, that, oh, look, when it comes to the building the institution, we need to adopt a certain approach to ensure that we achieve the result we want to achieve, which was what they were trying to tell you.
Yeah.
That we kept having so much attrition in Parliament. So many people, you know, come to the House and get thrown out. And there was the need to ensure that people grow into the work. They are not booted out of Parliament just like that. And that is about preserving, you know, a certain culture in Parliament. But of course, how to get there is where we fight each other as a people. That, the MPP people are saying this, the NDC people are saying this. Which of the paths do we use? That is where you have divisions. But when it comes to protecting the institution, projecting it, I think there should be commonality of purpose.
So we can also see some tiny caucus meetings going on, and all of this is in the build-up to the State of the Nation's address.
Yeah, so this is a volatile caucus, sort of. You have Bejira there.
Bejira, the MP for Pando, the
you
MP for South Dai,
also
MP
there.
for South Tong as well.
Former Volta Regional Minister is there.
Yeah. So what I was going to say was the president himself, how seminal will this be for him? I remember in the campaign, NDC used to play John Mahamed's speech, his last State of the Nation address when he was leaving power, as part of his pledge. I think they showed part of that. Of course, Akufo-Addo will not come back in the same sense because he's done his 2 terms. But do these leaders, are there any memorable State of the Nation's addresses that we can all recall in terms of things said to the nation on departure of a former president?
Well, so you had, you know, Rawlings, chronicling what he thought he was going to do and what was done. Recalling that to say that, look, my candidate may not well have won the elections, but there's a nation to build. I have done my part. Those who are succeeding should also do theirs. John Kufuor, reflecting after 8 years in office, spoke about, well, I don't think that we had enough time. I think going forward, the Constitution should be amended so that we would have a lot more time for presidents to put their thoughts together and then also deliver on their promise to the people. Then you have John Dramani Mahama, who, upon departure after just one term in office, said, look, I will leave it to posterity to determine whether I was that bad or I was that good.
Okay.
And, you know, time has revealed that although many thought that as of that time he was the worst thing to have happened to the country, Ghanaians now feel that, look, let's go back to him to come and fix the mess of the current president, if that is to be believed. And then you now have John, what do you call him, you know, President Akufo-Addo, who then has to tell us what he feels of his own presidency. Of course, we've heard him in the last couple of days talking about, look, I believe posterity would decide whether I have been good or bad, not in as many words. But you expect him to go the same line, saying that he did his bit. There may well have been challenges, but I think that
we've heard him say a lot about his legacy, and his people say that it is after he leaves that we'll know the importance of some of the things he did. I'll head you guys in the morning talking about free SHS and the rest of it. We are seeing shots of key institutional heads, GRA head, the head of the NHIA. We also see civil society, we see religious leaders, we've seen Dr. Emmanuel Akwete and co shown in the gallery. If you look on the screen, you will notice that the speaker's side, or where the coat of arms is, at the top of the speaker is where the press gallery is, which is a very preserved position. And I think that the parliament has done very well in giving the press that right of place. So basically, we are sat behind the speaker to oversee what he does and to pray for him while he does his job. So the speaker can see everybody but the press, but we give voice to what he says. Parliament has also now come up with their own live stream, which helps. But these are our own shots. in collaboration with Parliament. You can see the Parliament logo there. So I think in the past 8 years, we've also seen the work of the communication side of Parliament go out. So now when we cover Parliament Live, even though we send our own cameras, there's always a parliamentary feed.
That's right.
When you started your work, there was nothing like that.
No,
so you had to get everything yourself.
Yeah, take your camera in there, yes. Of course, we still do take our cameras in there, just across the speaker. So if you look at the public gallery, the portion that directly faces the speaker, you will have cameramen, they will sit there and project their cameras and record whatever is happening on the floor. But generally, the feed comes from Parliament. It is clean, and that is what we feed.
So the second lady and the first lady have also joined. So we see Excellency Rebecca Akufo-Addo taking a seat, and then Excellency Hajia, is it Hajia? I'm not sure now. The wife of Dr. Bawumia, Samira, also sat there. Chief of Staff is next to her, and that row is part of the dignitaries gallery. So these are dignitaries sitting behind the majority side. We see justices of the superior courts also sat in that area. So they are in the chamber.
So these are Supreme Court justices.
Yes, so they are not in the gallery. They are in the chamber.
Yeah, they are in the chamber, but those areas are reserved for dignitaries.
Yeah, but my point is that they are sat just behind the MPs.
Exactly.
As against civil society heads who are sitting up there.
Yeah, so they are not necessarily behind it. So you see where the speaker sits, right, to the right, which is the majority side. There's a space there. That's the space they are occupying. It feeds directly into the majority side of Parliament, to the right-hand side of the Speaker of Parliament. That's where they are.
A lot of the MPs typically will be on their phones because MP job, Alasan Suhini on his phone in the middle there. So this is a close shot of Excellency Rebecca Akufo-Addo, and then Samira Bawumia, and then the Chief of Staff. So you can say 3 of the most powerful women in the outgoing government in one beautiful photograph. Some security chiefs. We also see Secretary to the President and one of the President's lawyers, Ekoy Suman, in that shot as well. So from what we know, this will be going on until the alarm is sounded for the Speaker's entry, right?
Yeah, that's it. So now I believe they are in the waiting room, which is the holding room of the Speaker.
So the Speaker, the President, and some of the key officials of state will be in the holding room.
Yeah, so they will be there in the Speaker's chambers. They will have discussions. They will say, "Oh, you did this, blah blah." They're sometimes very, very jovial. And then when they finish, then the Speaker, together with leadership, will usher the President into the chamber, and then the ritual will begin.
I think it's important for the viewers to see some of these things as well, because some of these help us to understand that beyond party politics, we have a nation to build. So you see the MPs in this great camaraderie, laughing, chatting, having seen each other for a long time. It would be nice to show us some shots of the holding room, just to show that, you know, this is what makes us a country. The fact that our leaders, after the bitter politics, know that there's the business of governance.
That's right.
We have entrusted power to these people to use it to steer the ship of state to a better outcome for our future. And I think that the media depictions help, because there's a lot of division in the way our politics is covered, and sometimes it presents a picture of that we are always fighting. Yes, there are alternative ways to which we want to develop the country, but for those of you who've covered Parliament, you know that that's why you are sometimes very skeptical when people take positions in the public and run with it. You say, look, these guys, they are friends. This is politics they are doing. And some of the supporters don't understand. They say, oh, you support this side. They don't know that behind the scenes, these politicians are actually on the same side.
Exactly.
But they create the impression as though they are so different in order to weaponize your anger to get votes.
Exactly.
This is what they do all the time.
Yes, that's how they do that all the time. And after here, you see them having tea together. In fact, even before they come into the chamber, if you go to the cafeteria, you see MPs, MPP, NDC MPs sitting together, you know, having...
Describe the chairs. The CJ is sat there already.
Yeah, so
there's a golden seat under the coat of arms. Then there's a brown one to the right, and there's another one with the blue...
so the one
cross.
You see with a blue cross, that's the seat of the Vice President of the Republic.
So Dr. Bawumia will sit there.
Exactly. And then you have
the wooden brown one.
That's for the Speaker of Parliament.
The one directly under the coat of arms.
Yeah, that's right.
Then
no. The one directly under the coat of arms for the President.
For the President.
Republic, yes. Then you have the black one for the Speaker of Parliament, and then the blue one for the
So in terms of power, President is first, Vice is next. Speaker is next, and CJ is next. But in the seating, President is surrounded by Speaker and CJ because we are in Parliament.
Exactly, because we're in Parliament and the head of the institution is the Speaker of Parliament. His authority is preserved there and put in between the President and the Vice President.
We need to remind viewers about basic government. So we have the executive headed by the President, we have the legislature headed by the Speaker, and then we have the judicial headed by the Chief Justice. Yeah. So all the powers in Ghana are together. So this is a very powerful...
Exactly.
All the powers in Ghana.
Exactly. So this is ordinarily where we took the whole governance business from. You know, when the king was presiding, he was both the judge, the head of state, and then also the lawmaker. But you know, the likes of AV,
the king had all the powers embodied in him.
Exactly. Before they eventually decided, look, there should be something known as separation of powers, so that the person is not seen to be a judge in his own cause. So if you are the person passing the law, you are the person, you know, enforcing the law, and you are the person administrating the law, it becomes a problem. So then we had that division, and that's what has led us here. So we gave the powers.
So that's what I mean by separation.
Separation of powers.
So under a monarchy, the power was embodied in the monarch.
Exactly.
Because the Lord, in the Bible says, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king, and the Lord is our judge.
Yes.
But now the president is the king.
Yes.
The lawgiver is the speaker.
Yes.
The judge is the CJ.
Exactly.
So we have three.
Yes, there is.
Wonderful. Now what's going on here?
So this is the procession led by clerks at table. You see the deputy clerk, you know, what do you call it? Camilo Poamane.
So the man in
this is the new clerk of
the
Parliament, Ebenezer Jetro, followed by the Speaker of Parliament, who is the head of the institution.
He's in white?
Yeah, he is in white.
Followed by
the Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Baumia. And then you should expect to see the President follow soon. So these are the traditional...
so the Vice President
yes.
with some accompanying... The
Exactly.
President is then...
Yeah, so you see the state sword,
okay.
Which normally would accompany institutional, what do you call it?
Then the IGP is behind the president. Yes. I believe the Chief of Defense Staff. So the service chiefs are walking behind the president.
Exactly. And then you have the phantom from Dram now.
To welcome.
Exactly.
So we've mixed the British system with their gowns with our phantom from.
Exactly.
So it's, and of course, Speaker Babin has also changed the attire, where in the past...
he decolonized.
Yes, so in the past, the speakers would dress like judges, but he's decided that he would wear what he wants. So today he's dressed like a typical African big man, with wearing his agbada with his white. So he will call the house to order, but I believe there's going to be a prayer. So we will be crossing over for the sound from Parliament shortly, as soon as the speaker calls the house to order. But the president, will the president greet people before he sits?
No, so normally the greeting is done after. After the ceremony, because that would then, the house will be called to order, then he would deliver his address, after which then he will move on to greet the people, acknowledge cheers here and there, and then he would leave the chamber.
So he's greeted the Chief Justice, and then he would assume his seat.
Yes.
So let's cross over to hear what's going on now.
Honorable members, on your behalf, I want to warmly welcome His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, to the House. Before I invite him to perform a very important constitutional duty, kindly allow me to acknowledge the presence of the following people. His Excellency, the President, is ably supported in the performance of this duty by His Excellency, the Vice President, His Excellency Mahmoudou Bawumia, we also have the presence of Her Lordship, the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tukonu, and for sure, we have the presence of the spouse of His Excellency the President, Her Excellency Rebecca Akufo-Addo. And His Excellency the Vice President is with his better half, the spouse, Her Excellency Samira Bawumia. And I have with me my wife, the Left Honorable Madam Alice Ajua Yunus. Her Excellency, our Ladyship, the Chief Justice, is accompanied by her spouse, Mr. Francis Tokunu. We also have with us the Chief of Staff, Honorable Akusia Fema Osei Opare. We could not be joined by the chairperson of the Council of State, by his ably represented by our own veteran politician, lawyer, the person of Mr. Sam Okudzeto, Senior Advocate of Ghana. We have with us the evergreen former president, His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor. It's very important on your behalf. I thank him for always being with us here in this house. He is always present anytime we have an important function in Parliament. And we are extremely grateful to you, Your Excellency. We also have another very important partner of us. She's always also ever present anytime we have an activity here. I'm referring to Her Excellency, the former First Lady, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. And we have with us here almost all members of the diplomatic corps that are here with us, and definitely you can see them at the important visitors public gallery. The heads of the various security services are all here with us, and we have a number. We are blessed with the presence of our religious leaders who actually keep us healthy by always praying for us and making sure that the blessings and favor of the Almighty God remains with us forever and ever. With this, I'll now proceed to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, to deliver his message on the state of the nation. Your Excellency, you may do so now. Honorable members, please. This is a very important occasion, and you are in the house we refer to as August House, House of Honor and Dignity. We expect nothing apart from honorable behavior from you, and please, let's listen to His Excellency in absolute silence. I thank all of you for your compliance.
Mr. Speaker, it's my constitutionally mandated period as President of our country nears its very end. I come before this august House to perform my last official public duty. I'm grateful for the opportunity to give an accounting of my time in office, spell out the highlights of the state of our nation, and place on record the Ghana I'm handing over to my successor. In accordance with protocol and convention, it is good to see that my wife, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia, Second Lady Samira Bawumia, the spouse of Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Alice Ajua Jonas Bagben, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokunu and spouse, and justices of the Supreme Court, the representative of the chairperson, Mr. Sam Okudzeto, and members of the Council of State, Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, the Honorable Akufo-Addo Parry, and officials of the Presidency, Secretary to the Cabinet, Ambassador Mercy Deborah Karakari, Chief of Defense Staff of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Thomas Opong-Pipra, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, and the various service chiefs are all present. The Speaker, the House is also duly honored by the welcome attendance of the former President of the Republic, John Agyekum Kufuor, former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, and the Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps. Mr. Speaker, before I commence my message on the state of the nation, I want to put on record that I am deeply saddened by the devastating fire at Kantomanto Market, which took place yesterday, and has left many traders and their livelihoods in ruins. My thoughts and prayers are with those affected, and I extend heartfelt sympathies to the hard-working traders who have lost their goods and investments. Government stands with you and will work with relevant agencies to ascertain the causes of the fire and to provide the needed support. As a nation, let us unite in compassion and solidarity to help those who have suffered losses. Together, we can extend a helping hand to our fellow Ghanaians in need during this challenging time. Mr. Speaker, it is important to state at the outset that serving the Ghanaian people as president has been the greatest honor of my life. It has been one of great challenges and even greater triumphs, one that has demanded every ounce of my energy, commitment, and love for our beloved country. My vision has always been to see a Ghana that is self-reliant, prosperous, and united, a beacon of hope, democracy, and opportunity in Africa and beyond. That vision remains undimmed, and I'm confident that the strides we have made together will propel Ghana to even greater heights. Mr. Speaker, the first responsibility of a government is the safety and security of the state and its people. I'm happy to report that our country's territorial integrity is intact and all our borders are secure. In a neighborhood of widespread instability, it is no longer an assumption that we can make that our land will be safe and secure. Ghana, by the grace of God, remains the only country in the neighborhood that has not fallen victim to terrorist violence. It has taken a lot of concerted effort, and dare I say a lot of money, to enable us to protect our country from the ravages of the variety of terrorist groups operating and destabilizing other countries in the neighborhood. I wish to pay great homage to the security services and their ministerial leaders for the work they do every day to keep us safe. Mr. Speaker, it gives me no great pleasure to state that an important and integral part of the fabric of our society and the hallmark of our traditions, chieftaincy, continues to be a source of insecurity and destabilization. Upon coming into office, we worked hard with considerable assistance from the Committee of Eminent Chiefs, Otumfuo Asantehene, the Nairi, and the Yabonwura, to bring finally a resolution to the conflict which had blighted the ancient kingdom of Dagbon for many, many years. Bringing peace to Dagbon remains one of the high watermarks of my time in office, and I had been so looking forward to counting it with pride as the top of the list in resolving chieftaincy disputes and conflicts. Unfortunately, the sad situation in Boku must necessarily dampen any enthusiasm about the resolution of chieftaincy problems elsewhere. It is a matter of great regret and distress to me personally that in spite of our best efforts, the Boko conflict remains unresolved. Boko is unhappily not the only area of chieftaincy conflict. In judging from the experience of other parts of the country, I will have to mark chieftaincy as a growing source of insecurity that will continue to require a lot of attention. It is clear that part of that process is the need to strengthen the capacities of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs and the Peace Council, the two frontline institutions responsible for dealing with chieftaincy and other disputes. Mr. Speaker, in my inaugural speech at my swearing in my first term on 7th January 2017, and early on in that term, I made a public commitment to tackle galamsey, the phenomenon that had been ravaging our environment and destroying our lands and water bodies in the pursuit of mining our gold. I knew and was very much aware that fighting galamsey was not a universally popular position for a president to take. But I felt strongly enough about the need to protect our environment to say I was prepared to put my presidency on the line in the defense of our lands and water bodies. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, the fight against galamsey led directly to the loss by my party of several parliamentary seats in the 2020 elections, and to the makeup of this 8th Parliament, which affected the implementation of my policy agenda and impacted the second term of my presidency. I welcome the many loud converts to the fight against galamsey that suddenly appeared in the run-up to the 2024 elections. And I pray that more and more of us get to embrace the need for the protection of our lands and water bodies. As I have stated on numerous occasions, the fight against galamsey is not a fight against mining or the extraction of the gold the Almighty has so generously endowed us with. But we owe it to future generations of Ghanaians to extract our minerals in a manner that protects our lands and water bodies. I'm happy to be able to say that we have implemented some of the boldest and most progressive policies in the mining, forestry, and land sectors. As a result of these policies, we overtook South Africa as the leading producer of gold on the continent and have consistently increased gold production to reach an unprecedented 4 million ounces last year. Not only have we revamped dormant mines like the Obuasi and Bibiani mines, we have also worked to deliver the Cardinal Namdi mine, the first large-scale mine in northern Ghana, and the first greenfield gold mines in our country in more than a decade, with the ongoing construction of new mines in Ahafo by Newmont and Upper West by Azuma Resources. To add value to these volumes of minerals, we have constructed, through a public-private partnership, a 400-kilogram capacity gold refinery here in our country. We have also concluded discussions with the parent company of Ghana Manganese Company Limited for the construction of a $450 million United States dollars manganese refinery at Nsuta. Moreover, the establishment of the Ghana Integrated Aluminum Development Corporation and the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation has laid the groundwork for the industrialization of many of our natural resources. These entities are expected to generate significant revenue, create jobs, and enhance the value addition of our natural wealth. Each of these initiatives was guided by the vision to harness Ghana's wealth for the benefit of her people, ensuring a legacy of sustainable development for future generations. We continue to work to increase the forest estate of our country. Under the Ghana Forest Plantation Strategy, some 121,000 hectares of degraded forests were cultivated between 2017 and 2023. And under the Green Ghana Project, over 52 million trees have been planted in just 4 years of its implementation. In 2023, Ghana became the second country in Africa and the third in the world to receive results-based payments from the World Bank Carbon Fund for reducing emissions. Under the Ghana Cocoa Red Plus program, we've also completed all the necessary steps under the Voluntary Partnership Agreement with the European Union. And effective June this year, Ghana will become the first African country and the second globally to issue forest law enforcement, government, and trade licenses. Mr. Speaker, if arguments still rage over what there is to show for the fight against galamsey and the effects of irresponsible mining, there can be no such arguments about the introduction of the free SHS and free TVET programs. Another policy that did not have universal approval when I sought to introduce it on coming into office. However, I believe this is one of the rare occasions on which we can use the word transformational without any danger of abusing the word. We have transformed education, and there can never be a reversal, of the fact that some 5.7 million young people have gained access to secondary education who would otherwise not have had the opportunity, but for free SHS and free TVET. Indeed, my administration has also prioritized technical and vocational education and training, TVET, establishing 34 new TVET institutions and upgrading 62 existing ones to equip our youth with 21st century skills. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that we were brave enough to have started the free SHS policy at the beginning of my first term and resisted the calls for a gradual introduction. I'm glad that we've removed from the Ghanaian mindset the belief that secondary school education is only for people from certain households and families. From 2020, when the first cohort of free senior high school candidates sat for the WACC exam, Ghana has consistently recorded over 50% of candidates scoring A1 to C6 in all 4 core subjects. This marks a stark improvement compared to the years prior, particularly the period when pass rates in core subjects were largely below 50%. This year's results, the 2024 results, have maintained the laudable trend from 2020. Indeed, only 51.6% of candidates achieved A1 to C6 in English in 2016, compared to a much higher 69.52% in 2024. For integrated science, the pass rate improved from 48.35% in 2016 to 58.77% in 2024. Mathematics demonstrated the most dramatic progress, rising from a mere 33.12% pass rate in 2016 to an impressive 66.86% in 2024. Social studies followed a similar trend, improving from 54.55% in 2016 to 71.53% in 2024. Moreover, the 2023 WACC results stand out as the best in the history of the examination. no amount of shouts will displace data. It will not happen. The data is there. As the best in the history of the examination, with record-breaking performances across all core subjects. It is obvious then that our reforms have not only expanded access, but have also enhanced the quality of education. I am glad that we have elevated TVET and STEM to where they properly belong, and that they will no longer be seen as the option for those who cannot make the top grade. We have embarked on the development of 20 STEM centers and 10 model STEM senior high schools across the nation, and also constructed 186 new science laboratories nationwide. The other day, I commissioned the Accra STEM Academy, which is destined to play a key role in the future of STEM education in our country. These institutions are designed to provide hands-on learning experiences with cutting-edge facilities. From coding to robotics, our students are being prepared for the demands of the 21st century. It has not been without challenges, but the results are evident. I'm delighted with the infrastructure transformation that has taken place on our school and university campuses. This was displayed in a dramatic fashion a few weeks ago when the Ministry of Education staged the simultaneous commissioning of 80 new educational facilities across the nation. I do not suggest that we have finished what we set out to do, but we have certainly established what a kindergarten is supposed to be like. We've established what a primary school should be like. We've set standards for what constitutes a JHS. Science laboratories are now integral parts of junior and senior high schools, and computer tablets are available for all school children. Mr. Speaker, now we know and accept that a public school building can be painted in beautiful and attractive colors. Mr. Speaker, we have aimed to make the learning and teaching atmosphere a happy one for all school children and their teachers. We spend a lot of resources on education in the past 8 years, and I'm persuaded that it is money well spent, and the long-lasting benefits for our society will provide the justification for the expenditure. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible to make any meaningful accounting of my time in office without reference to the COVID pandemic. With the passage of time, it is easy to play down the extent of the catastrophe that brought our world to a thundering halt and brought wild animals to lounge on highways. Do we remember that airports around the world were closed, and some 2 years after the formal end of the pandemic, worldwide shipping and cargo freight have not returned to normal? Schools were closed around the world, and it took courage to reopen our schools. And there are parts of the world that have not yet made up for the closure of schools necessitated by the pandemic. Probably, Mr. Speaker, the most poignant aspect of those times was not the fear that gripped us all, but the fact that we were unable to hold hands or hug each other, and we could not have funerals for our dead. It is worth emphasizing the point that with the help of the Ghanaian people and the guidance of the Almighty, we managed the pandemic in our country to the admiration of the whole world. Indeed, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana emerged as a leader in Africa, managing the crisis with a balanced approach that prioritized lives and livelihoods. We were among the first countries on the continent to secure vaccines and roll out a comprehensive vaccination program. The establishment of our own vaccine manufacturing facility under the supervision of the National Vaccine Institute a body created by Act of Parliament in collaboration with international partners, is a testament to our resolve to build resilience in our healthcare system. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, a parliamentary audit was conducted on the accounts relating to COVID-19 expenditures, reflecting my government's attachment to accountability and the effective stewardship of public resources during a time of crisis. However, the consequences of the COVID-19 upheavals on all aspects of our lives have gone way beyond what anyone could have imagined, and we're still dealing with the effects on the economy. But let me first deal briefly with the effects on the health sector. This pandemic showed up some of the alarming shortcomings of our health delivery system, and we've tried to seek remedies to ensure that we're reasonably prepared to meet the next emergencies. The most important intervention is the Agenda 111 project we have embarked upon that aims to place a hospital in every district. Out of the 101 district hospitals and 2 psychiatric hospitals on the project list, there are 99 district and 2 psychiatric hospitals where contractors are deployed and work is in progress. I'd hoped that construction would be completed on all of them, but that, alas, was not to be. I'm pleased to report that on December 5th, I had the utmost pleasure to commission 3 of the district hospitals. Progress of works on the other 98 active sites range from 5% for sites whose work commenced recently to 95% at other sites. I'm hoping that the incoming Mahama administration will ensure that the project is completed to put our health infrastructure on a sound footing. Furthermore, we launched the National Ambulance Services Revitalization Program, increasing the number of ambulances from 55 barely functioning ambulances to over 300, ensuring timely emergency response and saving countless lives. The strides in healthcare reflect our collective commitment to build a system that prioritizes the dignity, health, and well-being of every Ghanaian. Furthermore, we've revived the National Health Insurance Scheme, which at one point before I came into office appeared to be reverting to the days of cash and carry. The number of subscribers has risen from 10.6 million in 2016 to 17.9 million at the end of 2023. With the renewal of subscriptions being facilitated by a tap on the mobile phone and the scope of the scheme being broadened to include treatment for sickle cell disease, kidney dialysis, and childhood cancers. Mr. Speaker, our economy took a bigger hit from the COVID-19 pandemic and ensuing consequences than had been anticipated. And in 2021 and 2022, we were in unaccustomed trouble. Our economy, which in my first term had been widely acknowledged to have performed creditably, marked by the longest period of single-digit inflation, 7% average GDP real growth rate, and strong external balances, was on its knees. The government's difficulties in Parliament, with the slimmest of majorities, gave the impetus to the international rating agencies to trash us on their assumption that we would struggle to get financial policy measures passed through the legislature. We faced the problems we encountered with equanimity, took a deep breath, and decided to apply for an IMF-supported program, dubbed Post-COVID-19 Program for Economic Growth, PCPEG, in the middle of 2023. The implementation of the program so far has gone well, even as it has been challenging. We have passed successfully through 3 successive reviews of program implementation by the IMF board, with the most recent review approved on 2nd December 2024, leading to the disbursement of $360 million United States dollars. The fund has therefore disbursed a cumulative $1.9 billion United States dollars to date. At the moment, I'm able to say with confidence that the crisis is over, that the economy has recovered strongly and faster than projected. In order for me to be able to make this assertion, I must make reference to the debt restructuring exercise. It affected many bondholders and was one of the most challenging decisions my administration had to undertake. It was not a choice made lightly, as we were acutely aware of the personal and financial hardships it would impose on individuals, families, and institutions across the country. Many citizens had invested their hard-earned savings, and we fully understood the pain and sacrifices this exercise demanded. However, it became evident that without such bold and decisive action, our economy would have faced an even greater crisis with far-reaching consequences for every Ghanaian. This restructuring was essential to address unsustainable debt levels and to create the fiscal space needed to stabilize the economy and lay the groundwork for future growth. It was critical in ensuring that Ghana could meet her financial obligations, regain the confidence of international and domestic investors, and restore our economic credibility. Through the resilience and understanding of the Ghanaian people, coupled with the strategic measures we implemented, we have been able to chart a path towards the recovery that is underway. Today, we're witnessing the positive outcomes of the painful but yet necessary exercise. The economy is rebounding strongly. Our fiscal position is more stable, and our debt sustainability has significantly improved. These developments have provided a solid foundation for sustained growth and development, ensuring that the sacrifices made by bondholders and other stakeholders will not be in vain, but rather the basis of Ghana's economic revival. Mr. Speaker, the country is not broke, as some propagandists want us to believe. We're handing over the country with gross international reserves of almost $8 billion United States dollars. Mr. Speaker, economic growth.
Honorable members, the level of interruption is high. Please, honorable members, His Excellency the President is not out of order. Please. Honorable members, your statistics might be different from his, but that doesn't mean he's misleading the House. He is in order. Please, Your Excellency, continue.
The statistics cannot be different. There's only one set of statistics that there is. It cannot be different. There's only one set of statistics. Truth is indivisible. Truth is indivisible. Is one and one only.
Your Excellency,
Thank you very much.
As an accomplished member of parliament, you are out of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Economic growth has also returned to the pre-COVID trajectory with an impressive growth rate, rising from 4.8% in the first quarter of 2024, 7% in the second quarter, and 7.2% in the third quarter. It is projected that this year's growth rate will be 6.3%, significantly higher than the 3.4% my administration inherited in 2017. The growth of the economy is further reflected in the growth of private sector credit. Private sector credit in nominal terms grew by 28.87% in October 2024, compared to the negative 7.5% growth recorded in the same comparative period of 2023. In real terms, growth in credit to the private sector improved to 5.5% compared to a contraction of 31.6% recorded in October 2023. It is further reinforced by improved external balances, with the current account balancing improving significantly to a surplus of 2.6% of GDP in the first 9 months of the year, compared to a deficit of 6.6% of GDP in 2016. In much the same way, the trade balance has improved and stands at a surplus of 3.85 billion United States dollars, compared with a deficit of 1.8 billion United States dollars in 2016. Headline inflation, which stood at 23% in November, is still very high, but this is coming down from 54% recorded in December 2022, following the effects of COVID-19 and other global economic pressures. Encouragingly, food prices have also begun to decline, bringing some relief to households and contributing to a reduction in the overall cost of living. Government has implemented significant measures to address the hardships that accompanied the economic difficulties. These include increased budgetary allocations towards the school feeding program, the capitation grant, the National Health Insurance Scheme, and the Livelihood Empowered Against Poverty program, LEAP. The stock of public and publicly guaranteed debt increased during the economic difficulties. However, the government is servicing its debts, honoring coupon payments for both domestic bonds and Eurobonds. Moreover, the debt levels are reducing, recording a significant reduction in the debt stock by 46.8 billion Ghana cedis to 761.0 billion Ghana cedis in October 2024, from 807.9 billion Ghana cedis in September 2024. The public debt to GDP ratio, therefore, reduced from 79.2% in September 2024 to 74.6% in October 2024. This is expected to reduce further to 55% of GDP in net present value terms, a level that restores Ghana's debt sustainability. It is hoped that the new government will continue with the policies being implemented to achieve the debt sustainability target. I'm happy to inform the House that today, 3rd January 2025, my government will honor coupon payments to our Eurobond holders amounting to 346 million United States dollars. We cannot afford to default on our debt repayments. That's advice that I want to give to the incoming finance minister. These achievements demonstrate our firm commitment to the policies, structural reforms, and program objectives and targets under the program. Let me at this juncture state unequivocally that the banking sector cleanup undertaken by my administration was an act of necessity, not of vendetta. It was a bold and decisive intervention to safeguard the strength and integrity of Ghana's financial system. The illegalities and irregularities perpetuated by the affected banks and financial institutions are well documented and indisputable. These practices threaten the very foundation of our banking sector and jeopardize the hard-earned savings of millions of Ghanaians. Our actions ensure that not a single depositor lost their money, an unprecedented achievement in financial crisis management. Today, the results are there for all to see. A more robust, stable, and resilient banking sector capable of driving economic growth and supporting the aspirations of our people. It was a necessary decision to restore public confidence and secure the future of Ghana's financial sector. Mr. Speaker, my government recognized at the very outset that the fight against corruption required more than rhetoric. It demanded systemic, sustained, and strategic action. To this end, my government initiated a holistic program of legislative, administrative, financial, and technological reforms. Indeed, one of my most satisfactory moments as president was when we established the Office of the Special Prosecutor. For me, this was not just another government office. It was, and still is, a symbol of our determination to tackle corruption head-on. I wanted Ghanaians to know that no one, no matter their rank or status, would be above the law. Its creation was initially met with considerable skepticism in some quarters, but I believe now that there is general consensus that has been an important contributor to our anti-corruption efforts. During my first term, we passed the Witness Protection Act in 2018, creating a framework to safeguard individuals who cooperate with law enforcement, especially in corruption cases. Furthermore, the Criminal Offences Amendment Act 2020 elevated corruption from a misdemeanor to a felony, with harsher penalties of 12 to 25 years of imprisonment. We also enacted key laws, such as the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the Revenue Administration Amendment Act, and the Anti-Money Laundering Act, all of which have strengthened our institutional framework to combat corruption and ensure accountability. We ensured that all allegations of corruption leveled against appointees were duly investigated by independent institutions of state, which generally dismiss them as unfounded. Budgetary support for accountability institutions has also witnessed unprecedented increases. For instance, from 2017 to 2023, SRA's budget increased by 99%, Parliament's by 100%, the Office of the Attorney General by 162%, the Audit Service by 258%, and the police by 274%. These investments reflect my administration's commitment to empowering these institutions to discharge their mandates effectively, which means that the tools needed to exact accountability from all public office holders, including those of my own government, have been considerably sharpened. The application of these tools, whilst respecting as it should due process and the rule of law, however, should pose no problem, no fears for any honest public office holder. I remember the early days of these reforms when skepticism abounded. People asked, will this really make a difference? Today, the numbers speak for themselves. The Auditor General's report for 2023 showed a reduction of 5.2 billion cedis in financial irregularities, a 32% drop from the previous year. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. I've just explained to you. From the previous year, I just said so. Listen, open your ears and listen to me. Mr. Speaker, my government has undertaken impressive reforms to strengthen Ghana's judiciary, enhancing both capacity and accessibility. Key achievements include addressing court infrastructure challenges with the construction of 100 courthouses, 90 of which have been completed and are operational, making it the biggest single infrastructural intervention for the judiciary in our nation's history. The establishment of the Court of Appeal complex in Kumasi, along with 20 townhouses and a guest house for justices in the northern sector, now enables appeals from 11 regions to be handled locally, reducing delays in justice delivery. Additionally, the implementation of the e-justice system has digitized case management and streamlined processes, solidifying the judiciary's role as a bulwark of Ghana's democracy and development. Moreover, the Law House, a modern facility for the Office of the Attorney General, has now been completed. Mr. Speaker,
So we are still live at the Parliament House covering the State of the Nation address. The President's speech has been interrupted by what appears to be a medical emergency of some kind. You notice that the camera had panned to the chamber where some of the MPs had stood up, and there was some exclamation, and the President stopped the speech. So you can see that there's some incident which appears to be health related, or indeed in relation to somebody's well-being. Not necessarily a security incident at all, but the President has had to stop his speech for the person to be given some assistance. So you notice the Speaker as well, all the MPs casting their glance to the side of the gallery sky described as where the dignitaries sit. So this appears to be involving somebody either in the security or one of the invited guests. Speaker Babin is speaking. Let's hear him.
Please. Let's have some order and let's continue with the business. Your Excellency, you may do so now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Apologize for that. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, infrastructure development has been a cornerstone of this administration. The construction and rehabilitation of over 12,000 kilometers of roads have improved connectivity and reduced travel times. These projects have not only facilitated trade, but also enhanced access to essential services. It is fitting, therefore, to acknowledge that this administration has constructed more roads and engines than any other in our nation's history. In the Greater Accra region alone, we have completed the Pokwase Interchange, Tema Motorway Interchange Phase 1, Obechebi-Lamte Interchange Phase 1, the East Legon Underpass, and recently, the Flower Pot Interchange. Beyond Accra, we have also delivered the first ever interchanges in the Eastern region at Sohum and in the Northern region at Tamale. Each of these projects tells a story of commitment, foresight, and a Ghana that is continuously moving forward. There are 14 additional interchanges currently underway across Ghana, each at different stages of completion. In Greater Accra, we're building interchanges at Obetemi-Lamte Interchange Phase 2, Nungwa, Ajingrano, Bone Barrier, Pram Pram, Dawenya, Savannah, and Tema Motorway Phase 2. In the Ashanti region, ongoing projects include the Swami Interchange Phase 1, Anumanje, Makro, Magazine New Road, Ebusuakura and Abrepo, as well as the PTC Interchange in Takoradi in the Western region. These projects represent the scale of our ambition, a commitment to excellence and growth that knows no limits. Mr. Speaker, in aviation, we have expanded airports, including the construction of the Yakubu Tali International Airport in Tamale, the Prempeh I International Airport in Kumasi, the rehabilitation of the Sunyani Airport in Sunyani, and the completion of the Ho Airport in Ho. These projects position Ghana as a hub for regional air travel. Mr. Speaker, over the past 7 years, we have revitalized Ghana's railway sector, undertaking key projects to modernize and expand the network. Notable achievements include the rehabilitation of the 66-kilometer narrow-gauge Western Line from Kojokrom to Takwa, the construction of a 22-kilometer standard-gauge line between Kojokrom and Manso, and securing the Western Line from Manso to Huni Valley, connecting to the port of Takoradi. Additionally, a 6-kilometer standard-gauge line in Kumasi is underway, and the Tema Mpakadan line has been completed. Progress of the Ghana-Burkina Faso Railway project further underscores efforts to enhance regional trade and integration. Mr. Speaker, we have made some good strides in improving the housing sector. Over the period, we built 1,070 affordable houses and broke ground for an additional 800 in the Greater Accra region. We've also established the National Home Ownership Fund, which is delivering 534 homes in Tema Community 22. We delivered the 1,000 homes to the security services and are delivering 600 homes for public servants through the Bungalow Redevelopment Program. Mr. Speaker, the transport sector has also seen the deployment of electric buses in major cities, reducing carbon emissions and aligning with our climate change commitments. These advancements signal Ghana's commitment to building a sustainable transport infrastructure for the future. Behind every completed road and bridge is the story of lives transformed, farmers reaching markets, students accessing schools, and families connected. Mr. Speaker, my government has prioritized the modernization of Ghana's maritime infrastructure, with the Takoradi Harbour standing as a shining example of this commitment. The port has been transformed into a world-class facility, enhanced to meet the demands of modern trade and of the oil and gas industry. In November 2024, I commissioned the state-of-the-art oil and gas services terminal, a $100 million investment, which serves as a hub for oil field operators, logistics service providers, and other key players in the energy sector. Additionally, I launched a dry bulk terminal and the Atlantic Services Container Terminal, diversifying the port's capabilities and solidifying its role as a critical player in regional and international commerce. We've also begun the processes for the construction of another modern port at Kita. These efforts are positioning Ghana as a leading logistics and shipping hub in Africa, creating jobs, boosting investor confidence, and ensuring sustainable economic growth for our nation. Mr. Speaker, agriculture remains the backbone of our economy, and our investments in this sector have been transformative. Through the distribution of over 2.7 million bags of fertilizers, we have increased crop yields and enhanced food security. For example, maize production increased by 110%, rice by 48%, and soybean by 150% between 2017 and 2023. The establishment of 104 mechanization centers and the rehabilitation of irrigation schemes have modernized farming practices and reduced dependence on rain-fed agriculture. The establishment of warehouse facilities under the One District, One House initiative has also helped reduce post-harvest losses by 30%. The net effect of these policies is that our agricultural GDP growth rate rose significantly from 2.7% in 2016 to an average of 5.7% in 2023. Our cocoa sector has also witnessed remarkable improvements, with productivity increasing from an average of 450 kilograms per hectare to 800 kilograms per hectare, making Ghana a leader in sustainable cocoa production. The living income differential policy, a policy agreed to by President Alassane Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire and myself, under the aegis of the Strategic Partnership Agreement between our two countries, which is a fixed premium of 400 United States dollars per ton, added to the selling price of cocoa beans, irrespective of fluctuations in market prices, ensure that our hard-working cocoa farmers receive a fairer share of the global value chain, indeed, receiving the highest prices in the history of the cocoa industry in Ghana. We were told by the minority leader on the campaign trail and in the presence of the now president-elect that my successor will increase the price per bag of cocoa from the current 3,100 cedis to 6,000 cedis. Our farmers will be very happy when this pledge is realized. In the fisheries sector, Mr. Speaker, the construction of 12 landing sites and cold storage facilities across the coastal regions, along with the commissioning of the Jamestown Fishing Harbor and the Almina Fishing Harbor, has improved livelihoods and reduced post-harvest losses. These interventions have significantly boosted the incomes of our fisher folk and contributed to the sustainability of our marine resources. We have also enforced measures to combat illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, protecting our marine biodiversity for future generations, and proving the doubting Thomas wrong about our commitment to transforming the fisheries industry. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has made significant progress in expanding electricity access, with the electricity access rate increased to 88.85%, up from the 79.3% I inherited. In renewable energy, completed projects such as a 4 megawatt floating solar PV at Bui and a 15 megawatt solar PV at Kaleo, together with a 100 megawatt solar PV under construction at Bui and a mini-grid electrification program in Ada East, have advanced efforts to reach the 10% renewable energy target by 2030. Mr. Speaker, it is worth emphasizing that I inherited a nation plagued by doomsday, but I'm very happy to say that I leave office with the lights on. This achievement did not come without its challenges. When my administration assumed office, we inherited an energy sector legacy debt of $2.5 billion United States dollars. The Energy Sector Recovery Program, developed by government and the World Bank, projected that this debt would balloon to a staggering $12.5 billion United States dollars within 5 years if no decisive actions were taken. We knew that such a scenario would cripple the sector, undermine investor confidence, and plunge the nation back into darkness. Mr. Speaker, we got to work immediately. Through tough negotiations with independent power producers, prudent financial management, and targeted interventions, we've been able to stabilize the sector while keeping the lights on. I'm pleased to report that we've kept the energy sector legacy debt to $2.5 billion, the same level we inherited, and have averted the $12.5 billion debt scenario, despite the rising costs of energy production and the global economic challenges that have unfolded during my tenure. The energy sector has been truly transformed, and I'm leaving office confident that the foundations we have laid will serve this nation well for generations to come. Mr. Speaker, one of the most notable milestones of my administration has been the creation of 6 new regions: Western North, Ahafo, Bono East, Oti, Northeast, and Savannah. This historic achievement responded to decades of passionate advocacy by local communities for a governance structure that brings development closer to the people. Today, these regions stand evident our commitment to equitable development with enhanced access to public services, infrastructure, and economic opportunities for millions of Ghanaians. Additionally, My administration championed a bold vision for local governance by advocating for the election of Metropolitan, Municipal, and District Chief Executives, MMDCEs. Though the process was unfortunately aborted, I remain hopeful that in the not-too-distant future, this vision will become a reality. Such a reform would deepen democratic accountability and empower citizens to shape their local governance directly, ensuring that Ghana's democracy continues to grow stronger and more inclusive. Mr. Speaker, the youth are the heartbeat of our nation, and we have implemented programs to empower them. From the National Youth Authority reforms to sports infrastructure development, we have ensured that young Ghanaians have the tools and opportunities to thrive. The construction of some 150 AstroTurf pitches across the country and the rehabilitation of existing stadia have boosted Ghana's standing as a hub for international sports, including hosting successfully, despite all odds, the 2023 All-Africa Games. Creating an entrepreneurial climate has been a cornerstone of my administration's vision for empowering Ghana's youth. From the establishment of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Programs, NEIP, in 2017, with a $10 million United States dollar seed fund, to the transformative Greenhouse Estate Project and Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center in 2020. We have supported 15,000 startups, trained 250,000 young entrepreneurs, and created over 100,000 jobs. Initiatives being implemented by the Ghana Enterprises Agency, GEA, like the Ghana Economic Transformation Program, the Hubs Grant and Acceleration Program, CAP-BUS, U-START, and the Ghana Cares Obantapa Program, have further strengthened this vision, benefiting some 1.6 million Ghanaians and dispersing over 2 billion cedis in loans and grants. These efforts have sparked innovation, created jobs, and laid the foundation for a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem, leaving a legacy of opportunity and growth. Mr. Speaker, in tourism, the Year of Return in 2019 and Beyond the Return initiatives attracted over 1.5 million visitors. These campaigns not only boosted our economy, but also strengthened ties with the African diaspora, positioning Ghana as a premier destination for cultural heritage and investment. The establishment of ecotourism sites and cultural heritage projects has further diversified our tourism offerings, attracting global attention. One of the significant undertakings in this sector has been the renovation of the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. This celebrated site, dedicated to the memory of our first president, Kwame Nkrumah, has been transformed into a world-class facility that honors his legacy and attracts visitors from around the globe. The renovations include modernized exhibits, improved infrastructure, and enhanced visitor experiences, ensuring that the mausoleum remains a symbol of Ghana's rich history and a source of inspiration for generations to come. As visitors walk through the mausoleum, they are reminded of the sacrifices and vision that built the foundations of our nation. The Nationalism Park, which I recently commissioned, and which commemorates other important personalities in our independence struggle, like Nii Kwabena Boni, Usuala Tamanche, and the legendary 3X servicemen of the 1948 Christiansborg Crossroads shooting fame, Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lampe, has also been added to this development, as will be the proposed Heroes Park, whose sword I cut recently, and whose purpose will be to celebrate the legendary Big Six of UGCC fame and other great figures of our path to freedom. Mr. Speaker, our security forces have been equipped with modern tools and training to safeguard the nation. The establishment of forward operating bases, such as the one I commissioned some 2 weeks ago in Ezinlibo, in the Western region, the Barracks Regeneration Project, the equipping of the military and police, with the police receiving helicopters for the first time in our nation's history, the acquisition of advanced surveillance systems and recruitment of over 10,000 police officers have enhanced our capability to combat threats and maintain peace. The successes of our anti-terrorism programs and cross-border security initiatives reflect our commitment to national and regional safety. In line with our commitment to aligning with international military norms and enhancing the authority of our top military officials, I'm pleased, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to announce the elevation of the Chief of the Defense Staff, TDS, to the rank of General, and the Chiefs of Staff, the Chiefs of Army Staff, Navy Staff, Air Force, and the Chief of Staff at the General Headquarters to the rank of Lieutenant General or its equivalent. These promotions, alongside our successes in anti-terrorism programs and cross-border security initiatives, position Ghana as a serious player in defense and bolster our international partnerships in peacekeeping and security. In communications, the digitization of public services, including the Ghana card, mobile money interoperability, and e-services, has transformed service delivery and improved transparency. These initiatives have positioned Ghana as a leader in digital transformation on the continent, with over 18 million Ghanaians enrolled in the National Identification System. The expansion of broadband connectivity to rural areas has bridged the digital divide, ensuring inclusive access to the opportunities of the digital economy. Every citizen's ability to engage with technology is a testament to our shared belief in progress and innovation. Mr. Speaker, we have tried to make real many of the slogans that have dominated our public discourse since independence. I'm proud to have approved visa-free travel to Ghana for all African passport holders with effect from the beginning of this year. This is a logical next step to the African Continental Free Trade Area and the workings of the largest trading bloc in the world. All these are essential elements to the realization of the AU's Agenda 2063, which envisages an integrated and connected Africa by 2063. Mr. Speaker, I'm thrilled to state that under my leadership, Ghana has made significant strides in foreign policy, cementing our place as a respected voice on the African and global stage. It was during my tenure that Accra was unanimously chosen by the authority of heads of state and government of the African Union to host the Secretariat of the AFCFTA, a crucial phase in Africa's journey towards economic integration. We also secured Accra as host city of the Climate Vulnerable Forum Secretariat, a grouping of 56 countries, reaffirming Ghana's commitment to leading the fight against climate change for vulnerable nations. As chair of ECOWAS for 2 successive terms, I had the privilege of guiding our region through challenges of political instability and economic recovery. Furthermore, Ghana secured a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for 2 years, allowing us to contribute meaningfully to global peace and security at a time of unparalleled changes. Indeed, it was Ghana that led the Security Council to adopt Security Council Resolution 2667, which provides for the United Nations to pay from assessed contributions 75% of expenses of UN peacekeeping operations in Africa, a matter that had been in controversy and unresolved for several years. Additionally, Ghana witnessed a moment of immense pride when Shirley Ayoko Botry a distinguished Ghanaian, was elected as Secretary General of the Commonwealth. The first time a Ghanaian and an African woman has held this esteemed position. I hope the House will join me to extend hearty congratulations to our Foreign Minister, Honorable Shirley Ayoko Butchie. Yeah. It is a prestigious position, and I'm sure she'll be a successful Secretary General and bring honor to Ghana. Another feather in the cap of Ghana's recent foreign policy has been the attainment this year of full membership of l'Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, OIF, of which we have been an associate member for some 18 years. Our country, one of the few to be full members of both the Commonwealth of Nations and La Francophonie, has the opportunity to play a constructive role as a bridge between the Anglophone and Francophone worlds, particularly in Africa, enhancing our influence. These milestones reflect my administration's dedication to advancing Ghana's interests and strengthening our standing in the international community. Mr. Speaker, there is a subject that continues to attract a lot of public discussion, and that is the call by some for a review of the 1992 Constitution, under which we have operated in this Fourth Republic for the past 32 years. Mr. Speaker, there is no perfect constitution anywhere in the world, and with all its shortcomings, I would say that this constitution has served us well. It has provided the platform for the longest period of uninterrupted, stable, constitutional democratic governance in our history. A constitution does not cure the irritations of the democratic process. There's no constitution that will satisfy the desires of those who do not believe in the democratic process. I would suggest that in the approach to the calls for a constitutional review, we should be guided by the old saying, festine lente, the Latin adage for hasten slowly. In this spirit, I'll be forwarding the document prepared and submitted to me by the Constitution Review Consultative Committee on proposals for the review of the Constitution, along with the concerns and suggestions raised, to the President-elect for his consideration as he prepares to assume the responsibilities of leadership. Mr. Speaker, elections are the main planks of the democratic structure. We've just had the 9th set of elections since 1992. The losing presidential candidate called the winner to congratulate him and made a public concession 14 hours after the close of polls, which it is widely agreed were conducted in a competent, free, and fair manner. I doubt there are many such examples anywhere in the world. Yes, we should condemn the outbreaks of violence that followed and the assumption some had that because a presidential candidate had conceded defeat, the winning party should feel emboldened to cause mayhem. It appeared at one stage that the outbursts of violence would overwhelm the police, who, in my view, need to re-examine rapidly their methods for containing such incidents in the future. I say so without prejudice to the excellent job they did in supervising the electoral process itself. I'm hoping that we will soon reach the stage where the unnecessary tensions that are simulated to accompany our elections will disappear, and elections will become simply something that we do, and do without a fuss and with flair. The efficient, praiseworthy manner in which the Jean Mensa-led Electoral Commission has conducted the past two elections of 2020 and 2024 despite their challenges, is a significant contribution to this end. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take the opportunity of this august podium to congratulate again my friend, with whom I came into Parliament together for the first time in 1997, President-elect John Mahani Mahama. On his historic comeback victory of 7th December 2022. Assure him of my support and that of all well-meaning Ghanaians, and wish him well in his second term as President of the Republic. And I take the opportunity also to congratulate Dr. Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, the Vice President-elect, the first woman to occupy that status in our history. Mr. Speaker, you and I have made history of a kind these past 4 years, and I must acknowledge the role you played in keeping steady the ship of state and the governance structures of our country. This was the first time the executive has to deal with not just a parliament with the slimmest of majorities, but with a speaker from the opposition party. Mr. Speaker, we found a way to accommodate each other, and the government functioned successfully. I thank you. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity also to express my gratitude to the Council of State, under the chairmanship of its highly respected traditional ruler, Nana Otuo-Siriboe II Dramini, for the great help it has given me in helping to steer the ship of state to a successful end. Nana and the members of the Council, I thank you very much for your invaluable counsel. Mr. Speaker, as I prepare to leave office on 7th January 2025, I do so with immense gratitude for the trust and confidence the people of Ghana has placed in me over the last 8 years. It has been the highest privilege of my life to serve as president of this great nation. I've done so with an unwavering commitment, boundless energy, and a deep love for Ghana, always guided by the belief that our nation's best years lie ahead. Together we have weathered storms, celebrated victories, and laid the foundation for a brighter, more prosperous future. Reflecting on this journey, I'm filled with pride for what we have accomplished, from the transformative policies in education and healthcare, to the strides in agriculture, digitalization, energy, governance, infrastructure, industry, and trade. These achievements are not mine alone. They also belong to every Ghanaian who has contributed to the collective effort of nation building. We've demonstrated that through unity, resilience, and determination, we can overcome even the greatest challenges. I'm confident that the progress we have made will inspire future generations to dream bigger, aim higher, and achieve more for our beloved Ghana. Mr. Speaker, as I take my final bow, I do so in the certain knowledge that our nation will go from strength to strength, and that freedom and justice has taken hold forever in our body politic. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to hand over a Ghana that is safe, secure, united, and firmly rooted in her attachment to democratic principles and respect for the rule of law. A nation that continues to shine as a beacon of peace and stability in an often traveled Africa and an uncertain world. I leave behind a Ghana that is thriving, one that has navigated significant global challenges with remarkable tenacity, whose economy is steadily rebounding, and whose institutions are operating effectively. It's a Ghana where the youth are being empowered with opportunities to channel their energies into meaningful and productive endeavors, where the arts are beginning to flourish, and where the elderly can grow old in safety and dignity, and continue to make meaningful contributions to society. I leave behind, Mr. Speaker, a Ghana that is working. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I thank you for your attention.
Where is the clap? Honorable members, on your behalf, I with all humility convey the gratitude of the Parliament of Ghana to His Excellency the President for the message. The House has heard him. Honorable members, that was just a paraphrase. It wasn't a quote. The quote is, "Minkani yekra." I thank His Excellency the President for setting the tone for, I believe, a very, very important national discourse as to the state of the nation. And we do this with the core principle of unity in diversity. Democracy is about disagreeing to agree. And we are grateful that Ghanaians and all of you have committed yourself to this concept of multi-party democracy. I will, on your behalf, invite the leaders of the House to have a say. I have enjoyed this opportunity for many years, and I won't be the one to deny my colleagues the same opportunity. So we will start by listening to the minority front bench.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Your Honourable Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for the message on the state of the nation that he has just delivered. Mr. Speaker, I need to remind you that the people of Ghana have already given their verdict on the true state of the nation. and that verdict was very, very clear. Economic hardship, huge debt overhang, high youth unemployment, hopelessness, and more.
And you are thanking him for this.
We have come to the end of the road for what has been undoubtedly the worst government under the Fourth Republic. Honourable Speaker, this abysmal record was confirmed on December 7th when the people of Ghana returned the most overwhelming and emphatic vote of rejection of any government ever witnessed under the Fourth Republic. Mr. President, you will be remembered as the first president who was cushioned by the IMF when you began, and you are still being cushioned at the end of your term. Mr. President, you left something very important in your account. You left out an account of your promise to God to build him a cathedral. But Mr. President, Mr. President, I will leave that for you, between you and your God. Mr. President, let me remind His Excellency, Honourable Speaker, that his tenure in office will remain a timely reminder of how not to govern the country. But let me also be quick to assure the good people of Ghana that hope is on its way. And President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, we can once again glean a brighter future from the throes of despair. Together we will work hard to lift ourselves from this historic low and reclaim our place, our glory as the Black Star of Africa once again. Fellow Ghanaians, we are comforted and strengthened by the following words of scripture. And I'm quoting Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. And I quote, "And Moses said unto the people, Fear you not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them no more." Bye-bye, Mr. President. It is finished. With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, I've taken note of all those who were on their feet and what they said. But it's now time for me to invite the majority leader, the leader of the House, to have a say.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words in response to the statement on the state of the nation delivered by His Excellency the President. Mr. Speaker, this is the man who, 1997, entered the Chamber of Parliament during the second Parliament of this Republic. He inspired the youth of this country through his advocacy. Hansa testifies of his great work in the chamber of this House. Then, as students, we sat at the gallery to observe and to take inspiration from him. Mr. Speaker, through resilience, through firmness of conviction, he tried over and over again and made it to the presidency. Mr. Speaker, today he has fulfilled a constitutional obligation to boldly deliver for Hansa his records in office for the 8 years. Mr. Speaker, it may be that for some political expedience, we may not appreciate what he has done for this country. But, Mr. Speaker, history, in its fair judgment, will state that there came an Akufo-Addo whose record in the educational sector of our country was unmatched and unequaled. Mr. Speaker, this is a man who is never afraid of challenges that confront him.
Honorable members, please, silence. Let's listen to the majority leader. Please.
Mr. Speaker, he has given us data, which data tells us the record he came to meet and the record he's leaving us with. Mr. Speaker, the Agenda 111, a very ambitious policy to revive our health sector and to provide for the needs, the health needs of the many vulnerable communities, Mr. Speaker, which is also unmatched, is there for all of us to see. Mr. Speaker, above all, this president and his government have demonstrated that they have what it takes to keep our country safe all around us. And by virtue of my being a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, I am able to say on authority the challenges our West African neighbors face in terms of security. This country is safe and secure, and it is a haven for many West Africans who would want to invest in our country. This is a country we must be proud of. Mr. President, your country is proud of you. Democracy has experienced its best under your leadership. Today, we are being told that there's a new hope. That's no problem. It is supposed to be so. But soon, we will see the true colors of the umbrella. So, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say to my colleagues that you are yet to take over. We would be watching you for the next 4 years. And if indeed you have transformed we will see with our naked eyes. This is a government that came into office and faced major challenge which confronted the world all over, but demonstrated resilience. This is a government that ensured that in spite of the COVID, all government sector workers were paid. This is a government that kept the lights on. This is a government that ensured that over 5.7 million Ghanaians had access to education. And Mr. Speaker, I would want to relate to this issue of free SHS. It took the grace of God for me to complete secondary education because my mom could not afford, my stepdad could not afford. It took the grace of God. And I know there were many Ghanaians who could not afford free SHS and because could not afford secondary education and had to stay at home. We know in our communities today, all those who could not get free SHS benefited from it when Akufo-Addo assumed office. Mr. Speaker, TVET was also implemented for those who are placed at the lowest ebb of fortune's wheel to also get advantage of getting technical education. This is it. This is the record that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is leaving us with. Mr. Speaker, posterity will be the utmost judge. And I repeat, soon and very soon, the Ghanaian people will see the true colors of this umbrella. I rest my case. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, please, let's be guided by the lessons of the wise saying that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you go together. I'm sure, as honorable representatives of your people, you understand the full import of this wise saying. With this, honorable members, once again, let me thank all of you for creating a conducive environment and for assisting me to host His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We will now proceed to do what is expected of us, and that is to adjourn the sitting for today. Honorable members, the House stands adjourned till tomorrow. You don't want to come to work? Oh. Actually, we don't have time. And so I wanted you to come for us to do something tomorrow. But if you say you are available only on Monday, you prefer tomorrow. Monday. Honorable members, I get the sense of the House and will accordingly adjourn to Monday at 10 in the forenoon. The House is accordingly adjourned. You will go around with him.
So you had Chairman's and you had Apenyo Marking, you had Habib, so he's thanking people, Jogate, Kennedy Japan, Siama.
Morrison in the corner there, the cameras.
No, Ajima Menu and Co. So his body language is quite clear that he's happy.
And
he's done his job.
About to shake the employment minister, Mutaka Mubarak.
So now he's on the minority front bench. Charlie, this thing, I don't know how did they do it.
Now we'll be shaking the hands of the Honorable Cletus Avoka, one of the longest serving members of Parliament.
Yeah, he's not going to return.
No, and then you go to Collins Dowda.
Collins Dowda, who's the Methuselah? Yeah, so Collins Dowda, and then
Doyo.
Comfort guy.
That's the Kenya Parliament.
Gakpe.
Gakpe, and then Doyo, Ibrahim Ahmed.
And then
Agboja.
Agboja, who's the
chief whip for the minority.
And then you see Amabo, but where is Castle? We are not seeing today.
The minority that he doesn't seem to be in Parliament.
Yeah.
So then the deputy minority that would join the procession with them too. Of course, Mahama Yariga, Rashid Pelpo, Haruna Idrisu, all exchanging pleasantries. Dr. Baumia exchanging pleasantries, Ayariga, and so as Richard Sky has been saying, these are all people who know each other and work with each other very well. And we see how Kwabena Donkor exchanging pleasantries with the president on his way out of Parliament. This will be his final official parliamentary duty. Official duty in Parliament before Monday. So Monday will be the dissolution, which is a pure parliamentary affair. And then in the wee hours of Tuesday, the 9th Parliament will be born. So maybe we'll talk about the transition of Parliament as well.
That's right.
As we wrap this up. But it's all in good spirits. The reaction speeches were short, and you can tell there's a lot of excitement in the House. President exchanging pleasantries and
former First Lady.
Former First Lady. I think
they have a good relationship, don't they?
Yes. Mr. Akufo is also in that same neighborhood.
Yeah. And
then we see the lords and ladies of the Supreme Court also making their way out as well. So
those are some beautiful scenes from the Chamber of Parliament. Looks beautiful when you see all the sides together, smiling.
Yeah.
A bit of the judiciary, and then of course the executives mixed in there, and then some statesmen and women as well, all there as the president ends his official address to us as a country.
Yeah.
We'll come back to the studio and see ourselves, but I think we can start quickly talking about the speech proper, the key takeaways for you guys. Yeah. I think it was one that, of course, he touted his achievements and put it across as if I've done so much. And he spoke about Galamsey. You know, over the period we're expecting him to say so much about Galamsey. He didn't, but at least today he said a lot about that. He spoke about one of his key contributions, which is the SHS, his legacy. People believe that will be. He spoke about the economy, and then said that Ghana is not broke, which was an interesting statement. Of course, spoke about the banking sector cleanup, the OSP, infrastructure development, the energy sector, some elevation of some soldiers, including the CDS, and then spoke about the elections, commending the stakeholders in there, among others. But I'll start with you, Bernard, your key takeaways from what struck you in this last speech.
Well, I think, thank you, Vivian. For me, I think we even need to start by talking about the temperature in the room, the way it felt, you know. And I think Sky was talking about this before we went on the Take the Full speech. It's an emotional ceremony when you saw him sat there in that seat, you know. And he said, this being president has been the greatest honor of his life. So for me, I think that moment was well captured. And the way Parliament received him was quite good as well. Speaker Babin doing his job. So for me, at the end of a very challenging time for us, at least you can see the joy in Parliament that somebody has finished his work. Again, the posture of the parliamentarians, the NDC excited they've won, MPP have resigned knowing that they are going to now be the opposition. It was a good-natured speech. The heckling was a little, not too much. And I think the speaker...
Is that because the speaker at the beginning here...
Yeah, because a lot of times when they are in the chamber, they sort of forget that, they forget why we put them there, and that we've given them the privilege to go and advocate and make laws on our behalf.
Yeah.
So whilst the cheering and the jeering are part of it, they need to know that we are in a serious situation as a country, and their posture sends a message. So even beyond the speech, we like the fact that the president is smiling, speaker is doing his job, vice president is smiling, majority and minority side working together. It's good. Yeah. It's a great display of the maturity of our democracy. The president spoke about security in his first statements. And I think, again, in West Africa, we've become the benchmark for security. The fact that terrorism activity has not thrived here. We have a lot to be grateful for. Yeah. So just from a citizen perspective, it's been a great day. Okay, it's been a great day. This is democracy on display. This is the maturity people want. We can get into the details.
Yeah, we would.
But for me, we are blessed to have a country where our leaders know statecraft. They understand, and the president with his background understands the importance of Parliament. Yeah. So when he was making the speech and he was being interjected, he says you can make the noise, but it will go on record.
Yeah, I want it to be captured.
He burst into public limelight properly in the 97 Parliament. And so he loves Parliament. You can tell. He's happy to come to Parliament because he knows.
He believes in pound for pound.
Yes. And very British nature, because the British, they see Parliament as the place where the real debate takes place. So he's not worried at all. When you are heckling him from the other side, he will smile. And I think this is great. If we can translate all of that into quality, substantive governance, that would be fantastic. Yeah. So just by preliminary opening thoughts, I thought this was a great display of Ghana's democracy coming to maturity, and we have a lot to be grateful for. we hope that the young people watching would take these positive aspects and not the insults we do on air and all the heckling. That there are things that require some butu-butu. But at the end of the day, it's about keeping the ship of state
Ghana
moving
must win.
and letting Ghana win. And I think when you watch what we've just seen, it's a fantastic display of statecraft, and I think we have a lot to be proud of. So those will be my introduction.
Let me bring in Sky. I mean, for the first time, I saw the wife of the speaker. We've never really been seeing her, at least to me. And he introduced it. I mean, it was beautiful. Yeah. So let me take your initial. I had to throw that in.
Oh,
your initial thoughts on that.
I think it was a very beautiful ceremony. It was you know, you could feel the energy of the president and the eagerness of the opposition to tell him their peace of mind. That look, despite everything that you have said, we don't believe that the record you are giving yourself is consistent with what the people of Ghana find themselves in. But that is what it is, as Bernard brightly stated. If you go to the House of Commons, it's about you give me, I give you. Like you make a claim, I rebut with whatever facts there may be at my disposal. So it was a beautiful thing to watch. The president touched on almost all the major points that one can think about. It's unfortunate we've not heard much about sports, although he spoke about youth. But in terms of ensuring that there is an indication as to where he met Ghana, where he took it from, where he took it to, and what he expects the incoming administration to do, I think he's laid a very solid foundation for us to be able to know where we go from here. Okay.
A lot of people were expecting so much from the speech, especially because of the many challenges we've seen as a country. Was he able to soften or touch our hearts around the challenges we've seen as a country in this final speech? You
know, this morning I was telling you that if Nana-Addo kept to the script as in his persona, how he projects himself, what he thinks of himself, what he thinks is done, he will come and tell them his peace of mind. To a large extent, I think he's done that. Which is to say, look, yes, we recognize that there have been challenges. But in my respectful view, I can beat my chest and say that we have moved Ghana from a certain point to a higher point. He spoke about gross, domestic GDP, reserve, international reserve.
Even the debt, he said
the size of the debt stock, where the power problems that we had. He's kept the lights on, although when he came in, the lights were off. He spoke about what? Issues having to do with free senior high school education. Over 5.7 million or so, Ghanaians benefiting directly from the free senior high school policy and the free TVET policy. Spoke about Agenda 111. What has happened to the road sector? What's happening to the ports in terms of modernizing, also ensuring the fishing industry gets some of these things that we had always talked about. Fishing harbors or fishing landing, beaches for them to be able, the fisher for them to be able.
Hang on, Sky, give me a second. Let me cross over back to Parliament, where our colleague Charles Owusu-Kume is speaking with some of the MPs to pick their reactions. I'll come back to you guys in a bit.
Is in the results that we have seen, a situation where he would have admitted to the failure of his governance, the huge levels of corruption, and the fact that Ghanaians could no longer be confident in the kind of administration he led. I expected him to admit all this.
But he did make some admissions. Example, on the debt exchange, he said yes, he understands the impact on Ghanaians, but it was a difficult, necessary decision that he had to take.
But he failed in admitting the fact that the banking sector had been disrupted by him, and that he did not leave a strong economy as he accepted, as he contrary presented. I mean, he should have presented a true reflection of the true situation of the Ghanaian right now. And at least in the end, he could ask for forgiveness for the many failures he has recorded. And the debt exchange is a very small aspect of the many, many challenges he faced. And so I would have wished that he came to that realization, that level of realization that it is time to tell the truth about himself and the economy. And to admit also that with everything that happened, the true reflection of it is in the Ghanaian. And the Ghanaian people, the Ghanaian person is having a challenge about even the education he's talking about, taking their children to school, paying school fees, ensuring that we have good roads, everything seemed to have collapsed completely. And I thought that this was an occasion for him to have come very clean, to say that, look, we aim at getting to this point, we failed. We aim at building 111 hospitals for you, we failed. We aim at making the economy strong for you, we failed.
Is it a failure if the president aims at building 111 hospitals and by the time he's exiting, he has commissioned 3? He says the others are at various levels of completion and he expects President Mahama elect when he's sworn into office to complete these processes. Government is a continuum, isn't it?
We are taking him to his word. He said that he was going to finish this 111 hospital before he leaves office. He has not done that. And you did only 3. I mean, it's just a big eyesore. And if you look at that and look at the totality of his commitment to work, he talked about roads, 12,000 kilometers of roads, which I believe is not the truth. He's talking about everything about what he said can be diagnosed and found not to be the case at all. And I think that is not a true reflection of the present situation we face. And I think that the history is going to come, and history is not going to judge him fairly, because even in a situation when he had the opportunity to tell the truth about the economy, about himself, about the people of Ghana, about the failure in the factories he said he will build, about the dams he failed to build, about the 350 secondary schools he failed to provide, he is telling us he's leaving behind a strong economy. I don't know where that strong economy is coming from.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Rashid Pelpo. He is the Member of Parliament for West Central. I see my own Member of Parliament, MP for Medina, the Honorable Xavier Sosu. Good to see you, Honorable. The President just delivered his final State of the Nation. First of all, your first impressions of the President's speech.
Well, I think that the speech was a genuinely good speech, but I think it was uninspiring. It was uninspiring because I thought, being the last speech and knowing the sentiment of Ghanaians about his government, he can make some moderate concessions where he knows that things have not really gone well. But it seems that the president was still on his high horse, still asserting that he's living a Ghana that is working. We all know he's not. He's living, he inherited a doomsaw and living without doomsaw. You know that's not absolutely correct. You know that when you came, unemployment was around 8%. The unemployment rate is 14.7%. You know, I mean, the CD to a dollar rate was about, I think, about 4 or 3.8 to like $1. And today,
but the president did attribute some of these things to global shocks. I mean, we know about the COVID pandemic. It was heavily in his speech. Even the Ukraine-Russia war, those things must have had some impact on the Ghanaian economy, right?
I perfectly agree. I mean, and I agree. We would be very disingenuous to say that such external shocks won't affect us. But it's also important that, you see, as a leader or as a young leader, I believe that it is not wrong at all to make, humble admissions where things have not gone right. And once you take responsibility of your inaction in aspect of your governance, it is so easy to then, rise above those inactions and then take action. Then you can then charge us and say that, look, this was where we got it wrong, and trust or maybe charge the new administration to pay a closer attention to those areas. But when you make it look like it's still all rosy and there are no challenges, the verdict at the polls is contrary to what we are telling the people. And so I think that was very much what I saw about it. And then I recall he said that when it comes to the constitutional review, we should hasten slowly. I disagree with that. I disagree with that because I think that our constitution really needs a review. And President Mahama has made commitment to that. In fact, President Mills began a constitutional review commission that made several recommendations. I believe that President Mahama is going to carry out this constitutional reviews, and we shouldn't be scared at all to move forward to change our political system by way of changing our constitution. And that is what I really believe.
Finally, before you go, what do you make of the president's human rights record? You're a human rights lawyer.
Well, I don't think that the president has done really great when it comes to human rights. Also, run up to the general election, you saw a number of violent demonstrations. I mean, they were peaceful demonstrations that turned violent. We saw how the people of the Democracy Hub were treated when they were protesting. I mean, I thought his administration was very repressive when it came to free speech. It was very repressive towards the right to protest. And you recall that even when we passed the death penalty bill, he signed the main bill, but he refused to sign the Armed Forces bill. I mean, the bill that amended the penalty in the Armed Forces. Also, when it comes to protection of women, the witchcraft bill, or the bill that criminalized witchcraft accusation in protection of elderly women, he failed to sign that one too. So clearly, the president hasn't really demonstrated that he is indeed somebody who is committed to human rights, to the extent that he was not committed to these pieces of legislation. I believe that he still has time to sign the Armed Forces amendment that abolished the penalty for the Ghana Armed Forces, particularly because he is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. And then also, as we speak now, there are 187 people on death row. He has a golden opportunity to commit all their death sentences to life, and I believe that he can still do that before he go as president.
Thank you very much. The Member of Parliament for Medina, the Honourable Xavier Sosu. I see the Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboy, the Honourable Suleimana Yusuf. Hello, Honourable Yusuf. Hello, Channel 1 TV. Can you please give us a moment? I'm taking him away from you. Thank you very much. It's good to see you, sir. The president just delivered his final State of the Nation's address. You have been a staunch critic of this president. Are you impressed with what you heard?
Let me say that it's sad to say this. We all listened to him. One would have thought that he would use the opportunity to apologize to Ghanaians, because there were so many things that he didn't get right. And for him to have such a platform, I was of the view that he would have apologized to Ghanaians, especially the latter part of his administration, where he showed a lot of, if you like, arrogance towards our traditional rulers. Okay? And many descending Ghanaians took him on. If I were in his shoes...
Is that arrogance if the president is seeking to exert state authority?
By our culture, you don't use your left-hand side to, as it were, signal a very prominent person like a chief to stand up, just to honor you.
But a chief standing up to honor the president is not wrong, is it?
That's even debatable. If you ask me, when he was campaigning to be a president, he was lying before them, okay? Knowing very well that he wanted to be a president. When he became a president, for the first term, the way he behaved towards chiefs the first 4 years, that was not what we saw in the last 4 years. So what has changed? So for me, he missed it. Again, this is a man who promised God that he was going to build a cathedral. If you have failed, be honest with Ghanaians and give us the reasons why you have failed in doing it. You have sunk this hole there, you have spent so much money there, and you don't want to talk about it. So what is the way forward? If I were in his shoes, this would have been the platform for me to say that, yes, we have started building this cathedral, yes, we have not been able to do it, but I propose that going forward, this is how we should go about it. Now he's leaving office. What is he asking us to do about the cathedral? These are some of the things that I thought the president would have said. But talking about the economy, revamping, and all of that, we leave that to Ghanaians to judge. If you ask me today, go to the market and see what is happening there. Okay? That is what we should be telling our people. We should be telling Ghanaians how they feel, and if it means apologizing to them, we apologize to them as a people, and then we move on. So for me, he lost it, he got it wrong. He should have apologized to Ghanaians, if not for anything. The cathedral he promised Ghanaians. The cathedral he promised God. If he can deceive God, my brother, who else can you deceive?
But surely there must be something, at least one thing that this president got right.
One thing he got right is that whether he likes or not, by law, he was supposed to be here to deliver the State of the Nation address.
This is the only thing this president did in the 8 years of his administration?
No. If you want me to assess his 8 years of administration, why not? He's done certain things that we need to appreciate. Okay? But if you you want to grade him, if you want to weigh his good things against his bad things, I can tell you that this is the president that is going to go on record as being the president that has performed abysmally.
He instituted free senior high school. At least he says that he's leaving the country intact and safe. That should be some positive, right?
Now, did he receive the country with any insecurity? He didn't. So what is he talking about? If he had inherited a country with insecurity, and now you leave the country with, security intact, then you can say that you have achieved something. But you inherited a country, the security situation was perfect, it was very good, and now if you hand it over the same way, why do you have to applaud yourself? When he was doing his analysis, he was comparing, okay? He would compare his economic performance and whatever with 2016 records. Now when he got to issues of security and all of that, did he see him compare that? Okay, he was just being selective and trying to praise himself. This is not the time to praise him. He should let Ghanaians praise him. And Ghanaians have already praised him. The Ghanaians have told him that you have performed abysmally, and for that matter, your party, your candidate should go and rest. That's the judgment.
On the economy, he says the economy is rebounding, with growth expected to be 4.3% this year. Is this some positive news?
So
are you seeing signs that the economy is rebounding?
Expectations, okay? He's projecting, all right? We are talking about what it is today. Are you fine economically? Are you comfortable? If you are, then you can say that he has done well. If you are not, then again, you know the story to tell. That's what I said, that if you want to assess his performance, go to the market, go onto the streets, and then Ghanaians will tell you how they feel about his performance. In most cases, you see, our presidents and our leaders shouldn't come and tell us what they think is the case. They should listen to the people on the ground, and the people will tell them. That's how it's supposed to be.
I see the President Akufo. We can cut. Hello, sir. It's good to see you. You're looking good.
Yes.
So that former President Akufo shaking hands with the MP for Bole Bamboy, the Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, the former president, engaging with some of the members of Parliament. They're currently having conversations among themselves.
Okay. So happy New Year to all of you. Thank you.
So we're still here trying to get some conversations with some of the members of Parliament. I see the MP for Tamale Central, Murtala Mohammed, engaging other members of the press. This has been the final presentation of the president. All right, so we'll now go back into the studio where Bernard Avle and other members of the Channel 1 newsroom will continue with the discussion.
So that's Charles Owusu-Kumi interacting with some members of Parliament from the other side. That's the minority side. In a bit, we'll speak to some other members from the other side, which is the current majority side. So, guys, those are some sights and scenes from Parliament. Earlier, we were speaking about some of the takeaways from the speech. I was asking you guys whether you feel that the president had touched on some of the issues that a lot of people, were not happy with whilst he was in government, leading to what we saw in terms of the outcome of the elections. I was listening to him on the part about the banking sector cleanup, where he said it wasn't a vendetta, but something that had to be done, and nobody lost their money after the cleanup, which is another interesting statement and all that. But Sky, you on the floor on whether he had touched on the key things that people wanted answers to.
So, for instance, he's spoken about infrastructure, and one of the things I saw, which is commendable, 12,000 kilometers of roads built, according to him. And then also spoke about still infrastructure, the renovation or the expansion of the Takoradi port. He sort of attempted to speak about the Keta port, which he said preparatory works were underway. But I think that was he ought not have mentioned it at all, with the greatest respect to him.
Why not?
Because we kept people, skeletal staff, at posts, as people working to develop the sport. We're paying them. We saw a signpost erected. If you go to the Qatar area, you see the site. Nothing has been done really to see, so that people can see that the port is going up. And if after 8 years in office, people have been paid, and you are delivering to us an address on the state of the nation, nothing significant has come out of that beyond preparatory works, I think it doesn't speak well of your record if you mention it as one of the things that you sort of achieve, because really there's no achievement there. The people there are not happy about the fact that so many things have been said, people have been paid, virtually nothing has been done in terms of concrete action on the ground to ensure that there is this construction. Of course, one of the biggest things that we saw when they were coming into office was the question of the legacy debt that they needed to deal with within the energy sector. The criticism was that the Mahama administration was leaving so much debt, which was going to cripple the energy sector. And the projections, as he stated, was around $12.5 billion US dollars. If the estimates were anything to go by, we're likely to hit that point. But as we speak, he tells us that we're seeing something around $2.5 billion US dollars. Right now, between the projection and what the reality is today, I mean, you can say that that is commendable if you believe that something dramatic has happened within that space, as to ensure that we see light all the time. Then he makes the claim that, look, when I came in, power was off, but I've been able to keep the light on. Of course, we have seen intermittent power problems, the government refusing to give us a timetable. When we said it, the minister then for the sector told us, my friend, if you believe that you want a timetable, go and create one. In any event, you doom so it is not as though doom and all of that. A mark of disrespect, if you like, towards the Ghana. One of the reasons people would have voted against this administration. Then also raise very, very important issues about the achievements he believes he's been able to record in the education sector. As I was saying, we are told that 5.7 million Ghanaians have benefited directly from either the TVET or the senior high school, free senior high school policy consolidated. And as I was saying much earlier, in 10 years, 20 years, the people who are products of this system will become the men and women who will be leading affairs either internationally or locally, and will then be able to assess whether they are worthy of the investments that we have made in them, or that this whole policy has been a major, a failure. Of course, I mean, as someone whose parents, you heard, Honorable Marking also shares experience that he was struggling with the parents to be able to pay his fees. I had a similar situation. So I can relate to the difficulty of getting, funding for education at that level, and even going up the ladder, some of the difficulties that come up. And I appreciate the fact that this has been a worthy investment, except that as a person, I have serious difficulty with the very open-ended nature of the policy, which is to say, let everybody go, instead of saying, let's do targeting. Of course, the new government talks about reviewing the policy when they come in. We hope that they will take some of these criticisms on board, so that we can have a better...
Okay, I'll come back to you guys, but let me go back to Parliament. Nia Yikwe Okana, parliamentary correspondent, earlier spoke to some members of Parliament from the other side, which is the current majority side. He started with Patrick Wama, MP for Kankwe Central.
Just listen to President Akufo-Addo deliver his final State of the Nation address to Ghanaians, and some of the key highlights were the fact that he has done massively, tremendously well in terms of the economy. He disputed the fact that Ghana, allegations or assertions that Ghana is broke. He asserted that he is leaving behind a resilient economy, and then he also touted the achievements in the education sector, with over 5 million Ghanaians having the opportunity to attain the free senior high school. He also indicated that in terms of allegations of corruption, institutions, credible ones for that matter, have probed these allegations, and persons or appointees who were alleged to have engaged in acts of corruption have been duly exonerated. So he threw more light on some of the key things or key highlights that his government has been able to achieve within the last 4 years, and then also from his previous years. We have here with me the Finance Committee Chairman, Patrick Boama, also MP for Kankwe Central, to also brief us or tell us what the major highlights were for him. Honorable, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, City and Channel 1 TV, for the opportunity
Thanks for joining
to
us.
speak with you.
Exactly. So what was the major highlight for you in this presentation?
Thank you very much again. I believe that the President came to the House to perform a very important constitutional duty, which is to give an account on the state of the nation as he exits office. Not everyone will be enthused about the presentation that he made, but I believe that he used the opportunity to touch on every aspect of the economy, from the governance aspect, health, education, infrastructure, and what have you. Number one, on the economy, the President recounted what he inherited in 2016, what he took us through pre-COVID, post-COVID, and what he's living with us now. Number one is the growth rate before COVID, which was over 6.5%. We're being touted as the fastest growing economy in the world at a certain point. Number two, COVID struck, and we suffered a lot. We had to even go through a banking sector cleanup. We spent billions of cedis to clean the financial sector. People have issues with it. It's still a topic for discussion, and he spoke about it. And he believes that it has given the financial sector a very strong position. That is also a point that anyone can debate or speak about. Secondly, COVID has had some expenditures that he believes helped save lives. Number three, the President spoke about our gross international reserves being over $8-point-something billion as against $6-point-something billion that he inherited.
Exactly.
The facts are there at the central bank to check. Number four is the debt to GDP ratio, which he stated has reduced from 79% to about 74%. All in all, inflation and other growth figures were addressed by the President. It's not too, they are not the figures that you would want to hear, but given where he picked the economy from, given where COVID took us to, and given the fact that we are still under an IMF program, I believe it's work in progress. He's been able to turn the curve. He's been able to put in place some measures that I believe President Mahama with his economic team will also look at revise or review it, and ensure that we stay the course on a growth path for the good of all of us.
Well, for most Ghanaians, they believe that in as much as these figures may see some improvement in terms of living conditions, they are still battling. How would you address such concern?
Well, it's a very important point from the Ghanaian, because if you throw out data and it's not reflective on their day-to-day activity, they have cause to complain. That is democracy. That is a right given every Ghanaian. But you see, data will take some time before it becomes reflective in your pockets. And I believe that within the next year and a half, we'll come to appreciate what the government did. And I want to believe that President Mahama will also ensure that the growth path that we are on is not hindered.
In terms of the Agenda 111 project, he indicated that so far only 3 have been commissioned, with active work ongoing on the remaining parts of the project. Is this not too insignificant, considering the fact that this was a promise that the President had intended to achieve within 18 months?
Thank you very much. It's a challenge, because Agenda 111 was mentioned by the president, I think in one of his addresses during his COVID reviews on TV. And he saw the lack of some infrastructure in terms of health care within the districts. So it's a program, a very, how do I put it, ambitious one as such, that he embarked upon. Because at the end of the day, every government wants to have a district hospital in every district well equipped. So if the president announced an Agenda 111 program, plus the building of 7 regional hospitals in the newly created regions, plus Kwesiminti Efiakuma Hospital, then I believe every serious government, whether the president completed it or not, would want to ensure that the districts which have not been catered for or whose program health facilities are being constructed are duly completed by the because when the president came in, I know the University of Ghana Medical Center was built by the NDC. He did the phase 2 and ensured its operationalization in most of the centers. You go to Kolebu, the oncology department has been a lot of things have happened, and I believe that President Mahama will also continue from where President Akufo-Addo left off.
Let's dive a bit into the energy sector. Now, President Akufo-Addo says that in as much as he inherited Dumso, as we popularly term it, he is living behind, he's leaving the light on, if I should put it. Yesterday, you indicated that 20 billion Ghana cedis has also been allocated for the payment of interest, which includes the ESLA and then also IPPs. Some also believe that we are not at it yet. There are still some parts of the country that are witnessing the power crisis. Have we been able to achieve this particular aim of ending Dumso?
Thank you. As I sit here, I believe we've done very well in the energy sector in terms of maintaining the lights on, in terms of giving gas to the industries to power their gen sets or plants. Fact is that in his statement, if you listen carefully, he said that he inherited an energy sector debt of about 2.5 billion with some take-or-pay arrangements, and that he was living with the lights on. And it's true, the lights are on. You may have some power challenges, but the lights are on. We stayed under Dumso for 4 years, you know that. There were challenges with artisanal works, the hairdressers, you know it, it's a fact. Secondly, you rightly said that yesterday when I supported a motion to approve the expenditure in advance of appropriation, government also has allocated out of the 68 billion Ghana cedis, 20 billion to take care of the ESLA fund, that's the energy sector levy account, and also some amount of money to help pay the IPPs. Nobody has been able to settle our energy sector debt. It's true, you know, from since time immemorial. No president. We've always had issues with energy sector debts. Sometimes they call it the legacy debt and under recoveries and all those things. So that's why the ESLA was put in place and monies have been paid into it. There are also other obligations in terms of our debts that are accruing that we are supposed to settle with our bilateral partners, AFDB, World Bank, that is captured in the report, about 1.something billion Ghana cedis to some of our donor partners. So all in all, the energy sector has got to improve. A lot of progress has been made. If lights have been kept on, even in the face of some of these challenges, then it behoves on the incoming government not to have any excuses, but to also come and improve upon it and reduce the energy sector debt so that we have a structured economy, because the economy cannot run if we don't have power. That is one of the biggest things any government must do to ensure that power is sustained to enable industry and every Ghanaian, both domestic and industrial, have power at all times. Because the NDC is promising a 24-hour economy. You cannot undertake a 24-hour economy without the power sector having challenges. So those are my thoughts, sir.
Well, finally, I would want to ask you, what is your general impression of the Akufo-Addo government so far within the last 8 years?
He's done his best. Posterity will judge him.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
God bless you and have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. So you heard me speak to the Member of Parliament for Okankwe Central, Patrick Yaobuama, who also doubles as the chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament, on what he makes of the presentation by President Akufo-Addo. We would engage more of these lawmakers to also find out from them what they make of the presentation.
So that's our parliamentary correspondent Niaikwe Okan with the Member of Parliament for this constituency, actually Tesano, the Honourable Patrick Boama, so Okankwe Central, giving us his thoughts around the President's final speech, Nana Akufo-Addo. So, gentlemen, Sky, quickly, you're done. Let me come.
Oh, yeah, well, just to mention diplomatic, what they call it, regional leadership. I think that's something to celebrate. Of course, President Mills played his part in setting up the building that eventually became the headquarters of the AFTA Secretariat, if you like. But lobbying to make sure that he came to Ghana, Nanado played his part, and it's a great thing to celebrate. And then, of course, Shelley Ayoko-Botchwey becoming the head of the Commonwealth Secretariat. Although some people believe that this institution is losing significance on the global stage, the fact is it is still a robust institution within the Anglo. How do you what's the word? Was it? Is it the Anglophone? If like you know. And it has its own voice and place in the Committee of Nations. So I think that is also something that we should celebrate. Then democratic maturity, which you spoke about. That you have all kinds of problems around us, yet we had challenges with elections, but we've been able to pull it off. Condemn the violence that we saw immediately after the elections, and then also celebrated Dr. Bawumia for calling 14 hours or so after the elections to concede defeat. Although beyond that, he didn't celebrate in March. One would have thought that merely celebrating him, as all diplomatic missions are doing because of that gesture he made, I mean, very, very pivotal in our affairs. And then also, very finally, one other thing that he pointed out, economic recovery. Of course, as I was telling you in the morning, COVID is one thing they preach a lot as having undermined the efforts that they made in their first term. He related to that and still says that, look, despite the challenges, they've been able to make difficult decisions. Combine that with what happened in the banking sector, which you mentioned much earlier. Look, I think the concession has got to be made that beyond saying that we have saved the banking sector, real lives have been destroyed. There are people who can't just feed their families today because they've lost their jobs. It is okay if depositors have been given their money, because I do know people who still have their money in that they have still not been paid. But beyond ensuring that people receive their money, there are homes that have been wrecked, marriages that have been destroyed as a result of that intervention. Some people believe that it could have been handled in a better way, as to save jobs, save people's deposits, and then also ensure that the banking sector was also protected. So the way he framed it gave the impression as though, yes, we've been able to save the banking industry and we've been able to save depositors' money, without actually considering the fallout, how those affected families, real lives, have been altered as a result of that. And that would have been a concession that ideally he ought to have made. But I will leave it here. So
let me bring in Bernard. Concessions, apologies, and all that is something people have been asking for a bit now. You think, I didn't really hear much of concessions in his speech, and of course the apology, no. But same for you?
I don't think it's in the nature of the man to do an apology based on what Sky has said to us. I mean, he sees Parliament as the place where we play out the banter.
Pound for pound.
So for him, he did. You don't expect him to come and say he's not done well. The humbling and chastening nature of the electoral defeat of the MPP, I think, is the greatest state of the nation. it's not about what you say, it's about what people feel. It's not about you can do a lot as a government, but the people's verdict is very clear that they are not happy with what they've seen. All right. So for me, he said he will speak his facts. Those who are shouting can also speak their facts. So there's a bit of politics on both sides. So I'm not even sure we can legislate on whether he's done this on this sector or not. I think we've had a long period of politicking, and we should put the politicking behind us. We could have chosen to use the State of the Nation to say, look, I came to meet a nation at this stage and I'm leaving at this stage. He's tried to do that in terms of 2016 to 2024, all right? But you can argue that, well, the work you did in 2017 up to 2020 was rewarded by you winning 2020. So you are accounting technically for 2021 to 2024. So it's very selective if you say, for example, that when I came, reserves in 2016 was 6.2 and now it's 8. Okay, what was it in 2020? Because the mandate was renewed for you to take us from there. So what I'm saying that if we can split us on those things. I'm not sure people were even paying attention to those details because the argument is over.
Yeah.
The argument has finished. Yeah. Whether this what you did was better than somebody, the people have basically decided.
A decision
so
based
I
on
think
whatever.
it's more a question of putting it into perspective. And he started it well when he spoke about security and some of the key issues. But of course, it went into some of those record comparisons. I'm not sure State of the Nation is about record comparison. It should be more about the long-term agenda. We want our nation to have literate people and free cities going to set us there. We want to be debt-free. We are going to move away from there. Not in the limited sense of what NDC did and what I did. It should be more about what our national development goals are as a people, our aspirations for economic independence and sovereignty. I feel like that's what you should use it for. Because State of the Nation, you put on your hat as head of state. So if I had my way, and I was part of his speech, I've said, focus more on the long-term things he's tried to do. The long-term structural changes. He spoke about the Gettysburg economy when he took over in 2017. What has he tried to do to change that? As against, we met this when NDC came, we've come to do this. That's also true. And I'm not downplaying that, but I'm saying that, you see, when you have done 8 years in power, in a country that's in this development journey, you should try and situate your work as part of that continuum. Nkrumah did this, Rawlings did this, Kufuor did this, Mills and Mahama did this, and I'm trying to do this so that we can get there in 30 years. I prefer that. That's more, because we are talking about the nation.
Yeah, but Bernard, I mean, that's to be forward-looking, which has its own place. But you are giving an account of what you have been able to do. If you listen to the language of the Constitution, an address to Parliament on the state of the nation, the state of affairs. So yes, I mean...
No, okay, see, I'm saying that if you want to do that, then stick to the 4 years. Because you are accounting for the 8th Parliament. You took over as president in 2021. So I'm saying two things. I would have preferred a longer term view of structural issues. So he dealt with that in the Constitution, for example, when he spoke about not over tweaking it. But if you want to be strict and political, then we can say that your mandate was renewed in 2020. So the ground zero for you is 2020. So don't come and tell us that when you took over in 2016, Mahama did do so, but now you are doing this. Do you understand? It's self-serving, it's selective. If you are going to do the short term, compare your 2024 to where you picked us in 2020.
No, so that you then...
I'm expressing my view.
You understand.
I'm saying that if you wanted to do long term, which I think is the preferred way to go, you've done 8 years of a long-term 30-year democracy. This is where we are. We must consolidate. This is what we must build on. The new leader must do this and that so that the country can transition from having good government into economic prosperity, whatever. But if you choose to do me versus NDC, then NDC can also say technically that, well, in 2020, your mandate was renewed. So don't come and point us back to 2016.
You see, that's what I wanted to just chip in quickly on. You see, the Constitution talks about a 4-year term, which is renewable. So in all, you are looking at a span of what? 8 years. Although you break that into 2. If the people are happy with you, they renew it. If they are not happy, they throw you away. If they renew it, you are not entitled to a further term. Do you understand? So Mahama is coming back for an additional 4 years. Now, what presidents have been able to do over the years is to account for when they came into office and when they are leaving. and at the state of affairs when they came to what they came to meet and what they are leaving behind and what they hope to achieve with the incoming administration. So perhaps we should look at it that way.
I'm saying two things. I'm saying that there's nothing wrong with doing a 4-year account or 8-year account. I just feel like we've had enough politics between 2023 to now. We've had elections. So you are bowing out as head of state. You can show us the role you play in our long-term transformation in accounting for your 8 years without it being about what the person who did before me did and I've done better. That argument has been settled at the polling station.
Yeah, we say what you are forgetting.
So what I'm saying, I'm not. We have two different views. I'm not even arguing a legal point. I am saying that as a question of style, to crown your 8 years, we are in a developmental agenda that began even before the British came. One of the most profound things Akufo-Addo said when he took over in 2017 was that we had a Gettysburg economy. So I'm saying it would have been nice for us to tell us how far we have gone in changing that in the 8 years, without necessarily being a reference to what Muhammad did. Because it's a continuum, it's a long continuum of our journey to economic emancipation, which I think is what your final speech should focus on more than to say, when I came, this guy did this and I did that, so I'm better than him. That argument has been settled at the polling station.
No, you see, Bernard, when you add the argument about the polling station, then you are looking at the thing in a vacuum.
No, it's politics.
No. So here's the point. What he said today is evidence, according to him and the law, of his record as in what he's been able to achieve, because it is read into the Hansard, which will become a final authority as to what he believes he's been able to achieve. Now, we can have all kinds of views about it.
I'm not even saying what he's doing is illegal. I'm just saying that I preferred him to show us, in terms of our structural transformative journey, what his contribution has been.
Which is fair, but when you say that the argument as to whether he's been able to achieve is settled by the elections, that's where the problem.
I'm saying that
that's where the departure.
That's where my departure from you.
They were heckling him during the speech. And then he said, well, you will say what you will say, but I will say what I will say. Because even if you shout. And I'm saying that type of thing, the mood of the nation is not ready for that. We've passed that stage.
But these people are
right now, we're not interested in that.
Okay, I have to go back to Parliament. Ayikwe spoke to the MP for Doma East on the Honourable Paul Aprekuchum Berima. Let's see what he also said.
Taking reactions from lawmakers on the presentation by President Akufo-Addo, State of the Nation address, his final one for that matter. And I have with me here the Member of Parliament for Doma East, Paul Chum Berima. Honorable, thanks for joining us. Now, you have listened to President Akufo-Addo deliver the State of the Nation address, which is his final. Let's pick your thoughts on this.
Clearly, thank you very much, Nee. Clearly, you will see the President telling us what he has done over the 8 years in terms of security, in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure development, human resource development, and all that. And clearly you could see that he has done massively well. He acknowledged that along the way there were challenges. He acknowledged that there were some difficulties, but that notwithstanding, I mean, he has been able to steer the affairs of the country to a point where he thinks the country's economy is bouncing back, and handing over that economy that is bounced back to the president-elect. And I think the president was fair, was quite, if I may say, was truthful to whatever he wanted to say.
He made reference to the education sector as well as the health sector, talking about Agenda 111 project with 3 commissioned, and then the remaining parts having active works ongoing at the project site. He also made reference to about over 5 million Ghanaians having opportunity to access the free senior high school policy. Now, many believe that these are policies or projects that have not been well implemented, especially from your colleagues from the opposite side of the house. Wouldn't you side with them on this?
Oh, if you take that Agenda 111, as she said, it was a project to cure our health sector challenge. Indeed, Agenda 111 came up because after or during COVID, we realized that we did not have that enough of health infrastructure to sustain us in times of difficulty. And that is when Agenda 111 came in. And as the man said, he has done a lot. He has been, the initiation has gone far. He may not have finished all, but 3, that is being truthful. And then we're hoping that the rest, the other, the incoming president will help us to complete, and then we take it. Because government is continuous thing anyway. So I don't see anybody trying to object that. In any case, if you take free SHS, over 5 million kids have benefited from it. Indeed, it has been, there has been some challenges, difficulties in it, and it's a new project. Every policy that you are starting from beginning will come with challenges, will come with difficulties. But ability to go over and make sure that those challenges are resolved and the program is sustained, the policy is sustained, that is when you'll be able to have a long-standing and a quality for a successful project happening. So we needed to start from somewhere. We started from somewhere. Clearly, it's been sustained. We are hoping that the next government will find a better solution to revamp it, to make it better. And that is the way to go. Saying that because we feel that it's going to have some challenges and therefore we shouldn't start, that means they won't start anything. Even when you are constructing roads, sometimes you may have to break buildings. Difficult decisions to make. But at a point, they've done that, and we've had quality roads that we are applying and we are happy about. So I believe that this is not a time for us to be questioning whether this was right or this was right. Something has been commenced. Projects has been started. The next government should see how we can sustain those projects or make them better. And that is why Ghanaians voted for them. And that is why they think that the challenges we are facing was bigger and therefore we don't need. That is why they voted us out and think the new government will do it will be better. And that is, there's no need for us to be complaining now.
President saying that Ghana is not broke. That is quite an ambitious statement to make, considering the fact that many are of the opinion that dollar rate is still high, the inflation isn't at the position or the rate that is expected to be able to enhance, business or make business friendly.
But exactly what he said, that yes, in spite of all those challenges, we still have good amount of monies in our reserves, in our sinking fund, and all that to sustain us. Indeed, we are paying over $300 million, how do we call it, debt, a loan facility that we have to service. It's coming from our revenue and our reserves and all that. So clearly, if we said we are not broke, yes, we cannot leave the country broke. When some people say they left with the bone, we came back, we worked with the bone. We are saying no, we are not leaving the bone. There's a lot of meat on the bone that everybody can have some. So, and that's what we are saying. So clearly, yes, the president is telling us we are not broke. So you can't come and complain that you don't have money and all that.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Honorable.
Thank you very much.
So I just spoke to Member of Parliament for Doma East, Porchum Berima, of what he makes of the final state of the nation addressed by President Akufo-Addo. Now, President Akufo-Addo indicated that Ghana is not broke. He inherited a weak economy. However, he has ensured that we have a resilient and fast-growing economy. He also touted the success he has achieved in the energy sector, indicating that he inherited power crisis, but he is leaving the lights on. In the education sector, President Akufo-Addo noted that over 5 million Ghanaians have had opportunity to access the free senior high school policy, amongst other policies that he touted successes on. We'll bring you more reactions on this, but for now, we bring you back to the studio.
So yes, indeed, we're back in the studio. Vivian Kyle-Loko with Richard Scar as well as Bernard Avle. You just saw Nia Ikwe Okine speaking with Paul Apre-Kuchumberma, the MP for Doma East. I'll ask you on the floor. You're on the floor on the style of
I'm not really, look, the day to scrutinize the record of the government in terms of what it means for voters, I think that day is over. Because the government presented its record to voters against its promises on what to continue, and voters made a decision. I'm just saying that, again, I've not been president before, so I can say what I want and the president can choose what he wants to say. I am saying if I were part of his speechwriters, particularly because of the way he situated his victory in 2016 to the long-term aspirations of the Ghanaian, it would have been a tad better if the speech followed that same thrust. And I give you an example of the Gadgetsburg economy as an example. Because he was very profound in 2017 when he said that the economy we have is not amenable for development of people's well-being because it's not been transformed. Do you get it? So whether it's debt management, infrastructure development, all those things are part of that long-term journey of structural transformation. Do you understand my point? So it would have been better for me if he situated the speech in that context.
Okay.
He started that way, but somehow the speech went back to the regular, we did this against the person we took over from, and we've done better kind of thing, which I feel like is not really necessary now. Partly because the mood of the people is not even for that. We've had a lot of politics. We've had a lot of electoral discussion. We are focusing more about long-term structural issues. Do you understand? And I think, for example, on the Constitution, he was very clear on that, because a lot of people feel like Ghana cannot develop with the kind of constitution we have. We need a constitution that reduces the powers of the president, that gives more strength to local governance. And he said the constitution should not be tinkered with. So on one or two issues, he touched on those. But when it comes to things like healthcare, economy, it was very stark in comparison. And I felt like we are on a development journey. We're on a development journey. Our relationship with the international development partners, the way we handle the capital markets, the way we handle the financial sector. We need long-term transformation of those things if we will move away from simply being a promising liberal democracy to a transformative society. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I have no qualms about his mandate to deliver and the record reflecting what he said he has done. Okay. Again, when it comes to record, you can choose which specific ones to emphasize. He's done so many things he didn't even mention. So this is not even supposed to be comprehensive. The 8 years have enough things to show what he's done. And again, history. When people are at the end of their tenure, we feel a bit unhappy. With time, history will soften. It happens with all leaders. You said that in the morning. So I don't even think he needed to do any of, because in 4 or 5 years, we will remember some of the things. We did so for Mills, we did so for Rawlings, we did so for Kuffour, and Mahama has also had the same thing. So for a visionary leader like he is, and I'll tell you something, the first time I interviewed Akufo-Addo as a presidential aspirant in 2016, most of the answers he gave to my questions were about what he wants to do in the long term. He wasn't very much on tiny details. You can ask all these people. He's more, I want to do free SHS. I know the challenges, but I'll do it. He's that kind of guy. So that should shine through as well. Long-term building blocks of what he wants to achieve because we've been independent for over 60 years. All right. Having said that, I still think it was a good speech. It touched on almost every important aspect of society. He gave a good account of what he's tried to do. And the job is very tough. He gave some very good advice to the incoming government. He says, look, don't let us default on our debt. Don't take some things for granted. And Bagbin says something which I think summarizes everything. He said, look, guys, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. He was advising the new team that, guys, don't think that because you've won, it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
Even if there's a smaller minority, work with them. Because we are on a long-term development journey. Let's not be divided, let's be together. And I think Speaker Bagbin has been fantastic in the way he managed the House and how he ran the last thing he did today. So in a nutshell, I'll say, as part of my first submission, we are a country on the move. We are doing well, and I think Akufo-Addo has contributed his quota. Let's hope posterity will judge him objectively.
Okay.
Let's hope posterity will judge him objectively. As we have a few more years, we'll see how his contribution will be situated in the annals of our history. So that will be my submission.
Okay, so both have given us your prelims submissions. Let's look at some of the key things he spoke about. I want us to start with the issue about illegal mining. It was a big thing, even led to decisions for voters during the elections, and we saw the outcome of that. For some time now, a lot of people were expecting him to comment on the Galamsey even before the election. Well, finally, he's done it. A little bit too late.
My comment on Galamsey is I felt that he still feels... I don't think I'm on the same page with him on Galamsey, because he said he welcomes the community of new anti-Galamsey people who joined the fight around October.
Yeah.
I mean, and he then mentioned how his attempt to fight Galamsey in his first term cost him some parliamentary seats.
That's right.
I dispute those facts. We've done a show to show that, probably the exception of 1 or 2 constituencies, he cannot say factually that his fight against Galamsey cost him an election. That's point number 1. Point number 2. The noise about Galamsey in 2024 third quarter was not politically instigated. You are a news editor. Typically, this is how the news cycle works. Your correspondents in Ashanti, Central, Eastern, and Western, they will be covering water supply. The water people will take them to headworks and tell them that we can't process raw water. You will put those stories together, and it generates public anger, and Galamsey comes up. So it's not as if somebody went to sit somewhere as a political party to say, we are going to use Galamsey to make this government unpopular. So the way he brings the Galamsey argument, for me, still fails to recognize the seriousness of the distraction in the last embers of his government.
Okay.
I think people were trying to use the fact that there's an election in terms of the Galamseyers to push their way through to mine as much as they can irresponsibly, because they knew that they could hold either party to ransom. And I think the president could have been more decisive in dealing with it in that quarter than he did. To welcome all of us to the party again, a party he was part of from 2015. You were in parliament in 2016, 2017, doing Galamsey fight. So if he comes to town tell you that the noise you were making in October is a new noise, it's not correct. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's not the right way to go. And then to at the same time talk about Ghana gaining plaudits from the World Bank, carbon credits, winning. No, it's all together. If you cannot prevent people from destroying your environment and you reduce our advocacy to some political noise, I think it's unfortunate. We shouldn't interpret everything from partisan politics. The Galamsey advocacy, you had over 30 people come into this studio, chiefs, religious leaders. They came to read speeches.
Associations.
Were they looking for political power? It's not fair. Let's situate issues in the right context. We know that the people who do Galamsey understand the political economy, and they exploit it when they find that political leaders are vulnerable. What political leaders need to do is to stand up and lead in times like that. Because when you destroy our environment, our posterity suffers. I think it's been one of his worst failures in terms of Galamsey.
Galamsey.
And so that angle I did not agree with at all.
Okay.
All right. I did not agree with his angling and posturing on the Galamsey fight and trying to make it seem as if it was some Johnny Just Scam people who were in the Galamsey. No, that's not.
Okay.
We've done this Galamsey thing for at least 9 years.
Yeah.
It's been administration agnostic. So I will not, so fine, he can put it in the Hansard. But we will also say it on air. So it's not what he says in that Hansard about Galamsey. That is the overall record of Galamsey. Because the Galamsey fight and how it's being covered is there for all to see.
Yeah. Right. Richard?
Yeah, I mean,
on the Galamsey matter.
I think, you know, of course, there are things to celebrate, and of course, there are things to criticize. Because when we took up this fight, it was not because, you know, there was somebody's presidency at stake, or that we felt that it was to help someone's political cause. We had been witnesses to the devastation that we were seeing across the country. Water bodies being polluted, forest reserves being decimated, people's farmlands were going. In some cases, churches and homes were being targeted by these guys. So it was important that we took up the fight. And I remember when we launched the campaign, we did videos, which videos you can find on YouTube, in those years, talking about the need for us to intervene and deal with it. Of course, when the government won power and we quickened the pace of the criticism, they were then forced to set up a presidential initiative to deal with the problem. And that was when he made the famous statement that he was putting his presidency on the line and all of that. I think we can celebrate him for making a bold decision that, look, this thing was a problem, let's deal with it, and putting my presidency on the line. And in fact, in those years, we celebrated him together with Peter Amawu, who was the minister at the time. And they did some good things, and they equally did some really bad things. Because, for instance, I didn't think that there was any presidential or executive wisdom in grabbing, earth-moving equipment and setting them on fire. When the law says there is a procedure for confiscation, there's an order that the court has to give in order to ensure that we can put those, implements or equipment to better use that will serve the interests of the state. Because recently, what did we do? We went to spend a lot of money to import earth-moving equipment so we can facilitate this DRIP agenda, which is what? Ensure that roads in the various districts and communities are in a better shape. Yeah. We imported them with money. Meanwhile, we were busy burning down, earth-moving equipment in what do you call it? In the Galamsey areas, when the law says that's not how you handle it. You understand? So there are positive sides to what he did. He claims that because of his initiative, he lost some seats. Bernard says that the evidence doesn't support that. But of course, the records show that some seats were lost in these areas.
Which seats? Sky, no, we did a whole show on this. There was no evidence to that fact.
Bernard.
There was no evidence to that claim.
Hold on. Barbara Otinjesi. Did she lose her seat?
That Prestia Huni Valley, that was they had won the seat for the first time in decades in 2016.
And they lost it when?
In 2020.
So that's the point I'm making.
So how does that become a Galamsey loss?
Hold on, Bernard.
A seat you won only once?
Bernard, hold on. The man said, Bernard, you see, the man says that as far as he was concerned, that is the fact for him, that some of the seats were lost as a result of his fight. That's the information that's available to. That's what he's saying. We can interrogate.
Apart from
but you are saying that there's no evidence like that.
And I'm saying that there's no relation. You see, Sky, we are journalists, so we can hold what duty bearers say to strict proof. I'm saying that based on analysis of the numbers, based on all the Western regional seats, I don't think it's factual to say that there was a causation of a Galamsey fight with parliamentary seat loss.
Bernard, we have not done the research to establish a direct link between the two. The man is saying that is his claim.
And I dispute it.
But you
and I dispute it with facts. I'm saying that in that region, I'm saying that in that region,
there's a problem.
Yes, there's no problem because in that region, even Takwa was still won by MPP.
You said that there was no the MPP did not lose any seat
on the basis. Yes,
this guy I'm saying. I just told you that. Takwa in Sayem, what's the name of it?
Yeah, but it was not. But what is the evidence that was not based on Galamsey? What's the evidence? The fact that a seat has been lost does that mean that was not because of Galamsey?
Guys, let's move away from. Let's move away.
There's a between correlation and causation. The fact that a seat has been lost in 2020 does not make it a Galamsey.
No. Let me finish my point.
What are you saying?
You have just 30 seconds.
No. Yes, that's right. Let me finish my point. So you see, he is stating a certain reality, right? We can critique the president on the authority of his pronouncement that, look, I am willing to put my presidency on the line. He is claiming on the strength of that his presidency has been put on the line as a result of that initiative. He claims that the current parliament we see is as a result of that. And that parliament, or this parliament, stifled his efforts to advance the cause of Ghana. We can interrogate that. On the whole, I am prepared to criticize the president that, look, in the last 4 years or so, we've not seen much on the Galamsey fight. We were sitting on radio and criticizing him. We thought that a lot more needed to have been done, and the president didn't do that. But we should also be equally prepared to say that, look, in the first administration of his tenure, he did some good work. Except that all of those put together that do not seem to reflect, a positive fight against Galamsey. I think, we should be fair in our assessment of his fight against Galamsey.
Okay, another big, thing in the room was the issue of corruption and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, listening to him, he said one of his greatest achievements was setting up the OSP, and he believes it's
Has he allowed the OSP to?
Yes. So your thoughts on
you see,
that?
for me, I always go beyond the surface. You
We
can
all
set
do
up
that.
an OSP. You can talk about increasing allocation to anti-corruption institutions. What was the relationship between the Attorney General's Department and the OSP? Where's the OSP as we speak? Has he been, how many cases has he been allowed to pursue that the AG has taken up? So you can set the thing up. What was the evidence of the former OSP head about the role of the government in corruption fight? Okay, this OSP himself has had so many problems in setting up the institution. Credit to him, he's built the institution in terms of having the human resource to even fight corruption. We should always demand better. Justice must not just be done, but it must be manifestly done. Don't set up the institution with one hand and stifle it with another hand and say that we should praise you because you set it up. Set it up and let it work so we can see the result. We don't, in governance, I always use an outcome approach, not an output approach. Output is, I've set up the OSP. Outcome is, these are the cases we have prosecuted of our own people involved in corruption. I mean, if you exonerate somebody who has not even gone through a legal process in your first public comment about an issue with the person, what position do you put the OSP in to do their job? So setting it up is the output.
Yeah.
The job they do and its effect is the outcome. And I'm saying, from a governance perspective, we must judge our leaders from the outcome. Because it's the outcome that we want. We are not yet shouting because we want you to just say, I've increased allocation. Has it reduced or has it resulted in a change in the outcome? That, at the end of the day, is what posterity will judge you by. The jury is still out. We wait to see. But on corruption, again, I don't think there's been a lot to cheer with this government when it comes to fighting corruption, particularly in the second term, as he says. First term was a bit different. The second term was where the really cookie crumbles. And we didn't see a lot of that.
Okay. All right. We have just about a minute to go. So I'll just take your your closing remarks, 30 seconds, and wrap up.
Well, quickly, I mean, on corruption.
Okay.
Look, I think we should look at the matter in the round. The reason being, the president didn't say that he has solved all of Ghana's corruption problems. And I did not initially agree with the idea of even setting up the OSP because I thought it was completely unnecessary. The AG's office, and we have Yoko and some other institutions, they have all their mandates and they can deal with this particular problem. But he thought that it was the way to go. They set it up. Of course, there were times that there were challenges with releasing money for the OSP to be able to do its job. But if the claim is made that the OSP was not allowed to do its job, and that the AG should have taken some of his... No, the act is establishing the OSP says it is an independent institution. So it should do its job. You get your investigations done, you get your records proper, go to the court and prosecute it. As to whether the OSP has been able to discharge its responsibilities fully to the credit of everyone there, it's an entirely different matter. The records show that, as we speak, we have not had a single proper conviction. Many of the cases are still under, litigation before the court. So if you talk about the mandate of the OSP, it would seem that under the previous head of the institution, Machenamidu, we've not achieved much in terms of securing conviction. Under the current leadership too, it seems that we still have a similar challenge. However, can we say that people have been, reprimanded? Can we say that some people became afraid as a result of the work of the OSP? Can we say that at set, they ordered that some amount of money be refunded to the state? It is not always about securing conviction. It is also a question of what the message is sent to the people that, look, this is likely to happen to you. I do not admire the MPP in terms of how they handle the fight against corruption. But the president says that because of the measures that they have put in place, the Auditor General has returned a positive verdict that, he mentioned the figure, I've forgotten the figure. If that is anything to go by, that is something to measure him on and say that, he may not have done anything.
Just as 2 minutes. We started just as a few minutes. I agree with Sky on some points, you see, and I'm prepared to say that the mere fact that the office now exists in its full entirety is very important. And the impression we get from the incoming government is that they will work with the OSP, which is very important. So, which is why I separate the first thing. So, setting it up was a bold act. Putting Martin Amidu there was very, very bold against the advice of his party members. Kisia Jabin has come to add to it. So now the institution is reasonably well equipped. All right? Governance is a continuum. What the NDC does with OSP may be Akufo-Addo's greatest legacy if they continue to equip it and allow the man to work. So I'm prepared to concede that you can't do everything in a year. But I'm just saying that sometimes your posture as a leader when it comes to corruption is as important as whatever resources you put into it. All right? So you don't set up an institution and give them money on one hand and then make public comment about matters they are looking into, exonerating a person you work with. That compromises their independence. Do you understand? You don't do that. When you do that, you are basically putting pressure on the guy, and you are also creating an impression as if whatever you are doing may be a witch hunt. So at best, if you even believe that your person is not guilty, leave them at post. Do you understand? It's like I have a small committee to look at something in the newsroom. Then I go and tell the management meeting that I think that Sky is okay. Sky has done something. No? I've set up a committee to investigate him. Then I go to board and say, oh, I think that Sky, they exonerated. I've compromised the work you are doing. Even if my person, I should allow.
Not necessarily.
No, it is. I should allow Sky. Hold on.
Yeah, because you've given a verdict already.
Sky
always speaks. Sky, I have my difficulties with that.
Sky, let me finish my point. I am saying that, you see, I'm giving credit. You said we should give very credit to
that's
so why don't you want me to make
you have made very fantastic point. I'm talking about something you are saying.
You are not the judge. So let me finish. I'm saying that the posture is as important as the policy.
That's true.
So you put in place a policy, but your posture must not undermine the policy that you have set out to implement. And I'm saying that that was one of the negatives. I am prepared to give him the credit for the boldness set it up against all odds and to put the kind of people he put there. People we all in society respect.
That's right.
And for that, I'm prepared to give him the credit. But don't turn around and start exonerating and giving a free pass to your appointees when the work has not been done.
We have to end. We've gone by over.
I just want to make a small point. You see, it is unfair to tell the president, look, I have my difficulties with him in how he fought corruption. Did so many bad things about how he handled it. And he also did some good things. What's the question? The Minister for Sanitation wrote a letter to the president to say that she was resigning because of A, B, C, and D, and that she was sure that she didn't do anything wrong. Of course, the tone of the letter, dear something, there were problems with that. I would say that any day. Then the president, in response to that letter, which is a letter to the person resigning from office, says that he said something to the effect that he was equally hopeful that, you know, in due course.
No, he said he was sure.
You're sure
No, hold on. No, Bernard.
We just have to look for the
you can check.
We can check it. But I do not recall the use of a word sure. You understand? We can go to the record.
It's okay.
So when that made it into the public domain, I have difficulties with that. And we should all have difficulties with it. But that should not be interpreted. When you put, you know, an interpretation on it and say that, oh, the president was already exonerated.
Why can't we put
gentlemen,
what is
we
the
have
reason
to
why
end
God
the
gave us a
show.
brain? If somebody has written a letter, why can I not put an interpretation on it? Then why do I go
we have to go. Time is up. We
It
have
was to
go.
say that, look.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sky. Thank you very much, Bernard.
We can put any interpretation based on our understanding of the
On the field in Parliament, we had Niaiko Okan as well as Charles Owusu-Kumi. Back here, we had Fred Jabano as well as Achua Tenkrama, Ijubi Wiafi, and all others who helped us, as well as the production team on field and here, JB's team and everybody. Thank you so much. We'll continue the discussions on the President's final State of the Nation address, yes. And then we would also be bringing you some live coverage tomorrow of the High Court case, the parliamentary issues, and then on the 7th, the 6th and 7th of January, as well as the inauguration, we'll be bringing you everything you need to know from morning all the way till everything is done. So you want to stay with us at City 97.3 FM, as well as...
I want to add to your point. No, the word he used was confident.
I'm confident.
No, but you should listen to it fully. It says, I am confident, like you, that at the end of the day, right?